a couple minutes ago. Just a couple of quick clarification items for the workshop and the public hearing tonight. So on page 5-23, with our roadway design construction standards,
Yep.
on the very bottom right-hand corner, there's a table, there's a little square that's blank.
Yep.
That square should be joined in with the one next to it. I think it was just an exporting error, but previously those two squares were combined. So for both minor streets and collector streets.
So the line shouldn't be there.
Yep, that line shouldn't be there essentially. It's just the same standard. And then another thing was that subnote, it's on the next page, number 3, where we discuss public easement, private roads are excluded from these standards. We don't have a number 3 within that table, so I think it makes just a little bit more sense, just housekeeping wise, to pull that and extract that from being a subnote and adding a number.
5-23.
Yep. So just extracting that and adding like another bullet point under number 13 on the page before. So we could add a number 14 there. Just so it's a little bit cleaner, that way it's not a note that's not referenced within the table. It's just kind of laid out there.
So you're gonna put it with,
So yeah, so on page 5-24,
Yep.
we have that subnote 3.
I see it.
And we would just move it to page 5-23 and make a new number 14 there with that exact same verbiage. Since we don't have.
Oh, make it as a 14. I see.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, yeah, we just add that as a number 14 there.
Okay.
One question that comes up as you look at this, we're looking at a development down here, just, the mill, talking it's gonna be like 12 or 14 units. How is that affected by the
When did we get this?
restrictions of 3 to 9 lots or 10 lots, mentioned in threshold for residential servicing? So it can be more than 9 lots.
I'm sorry, Paul, can you say that
And
again?
they
So-
want to put a private road in here up to the back Nippon project, right?
Yep,
It's more than 9 lots.
It's more than 9 lots, so it'd have to be built to the standards of a private street.
that one would be either minor or collector street.
Okay. All right, I'm just asking that. As I looked at the chart, I said, how would that be?
That one's a 14 lot subdivision.
Yep.
Yep,
It would have to, it couldn't go as a private road.
correct.
No.
Yeah, and I think that application in particular, not to get too deep into it.
Was a
because I know it's not on
private
the agenda.
subdivision of 3 to 9? I mean, a private subdivision, if they remain private, could they still have 14?
No, they would have to be building it to the higher tier standard. Even if the subdivision itself is private, they would still have to construct that roadway to a higher tier standard.
Okay, that's the question.
So are we still having a public hearing tonight? Because it sounds like this thing isn't ready to go.
Yes, we are.
You can't have a public hearing unless you do a notice on it. And you can't do a notice on something you're changing it at the last minute. It's not allowed. It's not allowed. You can't do that.
Well, you can't, you're not supposed to not be here to.
Why don't you just-
I'm not gonna shut up.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know, I'm gonna drive you crazy.
Okay, guys. Okay, guys.
Well, do your work.
So David, we are using the last few minutes here.
When was this produced to the?
This was sent out.
Just
what?
tonight?
Can you give a date around the time that you sent it out?
It was a couple of weeks ago.
This was a couple of weeks ago?
We're supposed to come up and pick up our packets the week before.
I
but-
thought I was told that we were using the same information, but.
No.
Oh, well. Sorry.
This has been out, it has been out electronically for a couple of weeks. Close to it.
No, anyway, I didn't get it.
And then I believe the next change would be on page 7-2. Let me double check that. Actually, apologies, 6-3.
Excuse me, 6-3?
Yep, 6-3. And one of the proposed changes is about the other staff level reviews and removing that verbiage about the code enforcement officer and town planner. It would read instead by the code enforcement officer or their assigned designee.
Okay. With their assigned,
Shouldn't we have a conversation about that?
Their public hearing was at 5, but
Well, I guess the point for that one is we're a little bit more clear in our language elsewhere. And on page 7-2 is where you can see an example of that, where we had talked about before, either the planning board or planner. On page 7-2, right before letter D, excuse me, that last change there talks about that same exact language, code enforcement officer or their assigned designee. So it's really meant to mimic that language, it's a little bit cleaner.
Right, I see what you're saying. We're gonna remove the last paragraph.
And there was discussion from Tina, and just to be, transparent, so the other board members are aware. Tina, can you speak a little bit more clearly on that, removing that last paragraph before we get to section D, about if an applicant is uncertain as to the classification of the project, they may request a determination by the town planner prior to the submission of the application?
Okay,
Would you prefer you just change that to code enforcement officer or their assigned designee?
that I could
Either way.
live with.
Or just leave it out because it would seem to be covered above, but whatever that works.
I can live with that.
Well,
Or to omit it altogether because it's already stated above. Correct?
Yep, I think the discussion was about
This down
removing
here, I
that
know what you mean, I
because
noticed that, yeah.
previously in administration and for the application decision, it's up to the code officer or their designee to classify
Fine,
projects
projects.
as such anyways.
Right. So that's not needed.
That's what we
So
need.
what are we dropping, the second paragraph, is that what?
Yes,
Correct, that last paragraph there about
just above administration.
Yeah, I got it.
if the board wants.
Yeah, because you say he and she may request a determination, and that's just a repeat of the same thing on the paragraph below.
Okay.
We gotta think about having a meeting.
Is that it?
So that's what, I guess, Tina, you had discussed, I believe, among other things, but I think that kind of falls outside of the scope of things that we're trying to complete within these really three classified things between staff level review, the asphalt paving, concrete plans, and then the roadway design standards.
There's one, it's a typo, okay, on page 7-3, under 3. If you come down, for projects classified as major developments, it's about 5 sentences down. It's repeated. Read that statement for projects.
That's a whole different section we haven't talked about though. at this point.
Right, but I'm saying it's just a typo that he can correct. It's repeated.
Yeah, if the town plan,
Follow me?
No, I'm sorry, I'm
it seems to be implied, will also have the authority to vote on the, whether it's considered completed, and ultimately it leaves it up to us to determine completeness and.
Oh,
Yep, so we just need to pull out that second line.
Well, now that we're not meeting it, one question that comes up about this meeting is, did we advertise it as just a public hearing? Or did we advertise it as a formal meeting?
So are there any differences between February 24th
If we
and
did,
March
we don't
31st?
have any, we just
one second.
have the public hearing.
March 31st.
Well, this is for
Yes,
us to, I believe both are.
there is a couple.
There are, and we can get into this, I think, at the start of the public hearing, but those were the changes made from the discussion at the last meeting.
Were there like major changes made or just little subtle changes?
No, very subtle, just
Okay.
more so
All right, well, I'm
classification.
very
There were
familiar with
changes
this
that we
one.
discussed at the last meeting.
Right, it was, talking about adding a definition of a driveway.
Yeah, and I've got
um,
those noted.
Yeah,
Yeah, so there's no big deal that I didn't get this one, because I'm already familiar with all that stuff, yeah. Thank you.
Have you heard from David McCarthy?
I haven't.
Could you give him a call?
Do that.
So we start the meeting, we give David McCarthy a call and see if he's
I already
coming.
know.
You got David McCarthy's number, David? You have David McCarthy's number, so that, you can call.
He was up on Mount Washington. He didn't know if he was going to be a little later for the meeting. He called me earlier and said that he was on a camping thing up on Mount Washington, and he didn't know if he would make it back. Might be a little late for the meeting.
Now we have a quorum tonight, so we can vote at least.
Yeah.
That's just plain irresponsible.
I've made 97% of the meetings on
I'm
that.
talking about him.
Board and the planning board, 97%.
But you choose,
If I miss one meeting, it's not a big deal.
it was a strategically missed meeting.
Who says it was?
No.
Would you get some inside information?
David, don't even go there. You held up town business.
Tina, please.
I'm all done being polite.
You are ridiculous.
No.
We have yes here. We don't need to do that. Garrett, did we advertise the planning board meeting as well, correct?
Yep.
All right.
That before.
I don't want to hear it.
Would you,
No more use for you or David.
would you give Dave a quick call? We have a phone with you. So, I think we'll begin? Okay. So we are having a public hearing before our planning board meeting this evening. Welcome all. I gotta read off that a bit. So we're looking at reviewing amendments we've been working on over the last several months. And so there are 5 essentially items that we're going to be talking about. Amendments to the land use ordinance include updates to the road standards, includes ordinance to address concrete, asphalt, and paving plants, includes amendments to look to add a staff level review for projects, amendments to look at, or ordinance to look at fire hydrants, and amendments to look at nuisance fire alarms. Okay. Now we have several documents. Everybody have documents?
They're all available right now.
Okay, great. And very good. And directly after this hearing, we will go ahead with the planning board meeting.
Did you advertise that we were having a planning board?
Yes.
Where does it
Yes.
say that on the notice of public hearing?
I asked Garrett that, actually.
I posted the notice of the public hearing and then the planning board.
So you've done that. All right, and I wasn't trying to be difficult, I was just making sure we
That's
weren't.
That's fine.
Bob,
Yes.
just real quick, just to be clear for what we're looking for tonight,
Yep.
would be a vote from the planning board either with or without recommendation to the select board to be
Yep.
placed in the warrant for town votes. After each of these, I guess 5 to lump them all into 5 different things, that's what those motions would look like from the board.
Okay, and that's what we do once we get to our
Correct.
planning board.
Yep.
Yes, understood. Okay, so let's begin. It is 6:06. Welcome. So we have these 5 ordinances we're going to be reviewing, and we have folks present that are going to help us with that. The number of people who are involved in shaping these, including the planning board. And so when we do a hearing, it is a bit different than a normal planning board meeting. The difference, for the most part, as I think of it anyway, is that, I'm going to find my little page. Yeah, is that we really typically just listen. So we're going to listen for comments and the likes and make note of them. And then after we're done with the ordinance, we'll come back and we'll talk to them at our planning board meeting. Understood? Can everybody hear me okay, by the way? Very good. So let's go ahead and discuss, well, let's see, what would you guys like to start with? Shall we go through, let's go by the order that we have?
Yeah, when I let them present the changes they
Yep.
have in mind, you
You
said do
bet.
5,
Yep,
and then we can ask for public comment.
okay.
Which one's up first?
Is the road standards.
That'd be the more difficult one.
Sure.
Do you have any more copies of the big one? There's no more over here? Okay.
I got one.
Thank you.
Has everybody had a chance to see them?
Okay, so for the roadway design standards, proposed ordinance changes, the bulk of what we're looking at changing here is on page 5-23, where we are consolidating a couple different, the existing definitions that we have for roadways.
Are we not starting on 4-6 with the concrete asphalt paving plans on the
So
stuff?
we're gonna go by the.
No,
what's written in
we're going on the roadway standards here for the,
We're following the
notice
public
here, so.
notice.
Okay.
So there's a couple different spots in the ordinance that we're looking at changing. There's some within the schedule of uses section, we do have backlot driveway provisions there. But we're also tying that in and making sure it's consolidated again within what this larger table is on table 5-1 on page 5-23. There's a couple other things though before then, like defining what a private street is, which is necessary or primarily designed to serve 3 to 9 residential lots. And then the backlot driveways would be no more than 2 residential lots. So again, on page 5-23, we are outlining all of those different roadway design standards in one place to make it a little bit more user-friendly, depending on if an applicant is coming to us for 2 or 7 or 14 lots. At least it's a little bit easier to know which roadway classification you fall under and the standards that you need to meet. There's a couple other just housekeeping items. We're adding in a standard that's not listed currently about any private roadways. Must include evidence of legal documentation that a homeowners association or a roadway association is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the roadway.
We are or we are not.
We are requiring that. Yep. That's the very first paragraph on page 5-23.
All right, thank you.
Yep. And then the paragraph right below that, number 13, is talking about when this applies. So essentially, it's all roads proposed, constructed, or substantially reconstructed on or after July 16th of this year, which is when the effective period would be after town vote to accept these changes, is what we're looking at here.
Are we allowed to ask questions during?
Yes, certainly are.
So, Mac,
Yeah.
all applications proposing roadways to be privately owned and operated must include evidence of legal documentation providing proof that an entity such as a homeowner association or roadway association is responsible for maintenance and upkeep of the roadway. Isn't that hard to do when you put in a subdivision? Isn't that up to the neighbors in the subdivision to make an association?
I'm not sure I understand your question, sorry.
So I build a 10-lot subdivision across the street. I sell the subdivision to Garrett, Paul, Tina, Dave, Christina. Isn't it up to you folks to make up the association? Or it's not on the town to say you have to make an association, is it?
We have in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
To get your approval, it usually works 2 ways. They set up an association and run it privately, or they try to meet the criteria and have town acceptance. Hasn't been what's happened.
And I think the intent for this too is either, when a development application is coming forward, it's either constructed to the town's public road standard, and the town could potentially accept that, going through that process with the select board and town vote, or it is to be private, at least there's that mechanism for maintenance, rather than it being a private road and then nobody maintains it. So the planning board, the discussions have been that, we're interested in requiring that that entity is formed to later on protect those people down the road.
Excellent, thank you. Didn't see the first hand. Karen, go ahead.
At what point, you get backlot driveway, private road, minor street, at what point is the town liable? Isn't that when it becomes a minor street?
If it's accepted to be a public road is when the town would be responsible for that.
Thank you.
Well, there's a couple questions.
Does this have any impact at all on existing roads or existing easement roads?
I thought we agreed they were grandfathered prior to the date of the ordinance.
Yep, that's a good question. Yep, so on page 5-23, if you have it before you, that number 13 is essentially saying that anything that's existing now or existing prior to July 2026, after that effective period, is essentially grandfathered in.
Grandfathered.
Yep, so this would apply to all roads moving
Thank you.
forward. Yep.
That was my first question.
Yep, and just real quick, just to wrap up, there is on page 5-24, waivers for roadway design standards as well. So within our ordinance right now, it's not particularly clear on what standards can be waived by the planning board. And so that is adding in a section about different criteria that the board would base their determination on. Largely, it's going to come into effect usually for backlot driveways. If there's a lesser right-of-way width that's requested by the applicant, maybe there's some unique circumstances on site, but at least the important thing is here we're adding that framework, for an applicant to request a waiver from the board for that.
Other questions? Go ahead.
More of a clarification, having lived on an easement road for over 30 years and gone through several times to undo them, etc., I just want to make sure that everybody knows the language. A private road is a private road. A private way is a public easement, is an easement road. So when you're looking up things with the state requirements and all, just don't confuse those. A private way is an easement road. A private road is a private road. Yes, that's state law.
Not for our ordinance, but maybe the state law might be different.
Yeah, got it.
A private way is the old term for an easement road. That's different from private road. So if you're looking things up, just be aware of that.
But this would supersede that, right?
Yeah, we classify these a little bit differently, and we also, on page 5-24, there's a subnote there talking about public easement private roads, which is what you're talking about there, are excluded from the different road classifications that we have. So they do live outside of that realm of what we're defining here.
Right.
Because you can't, it's hard to go back and fix everything in arrears.
Because in the past, public easement roads could become that as long as they had two year-round residents. You may get a big change.
Claudia, can you
Just don't
say,
go backwards and change easement roads, okay, existing ones.
Yeah, there's no proposed changes to any of the public easement, especially the existing public easement private roads
Okay.
under this ordinance. Yeah.
Claudia, could you say that one more time, just so I've got it in my
Which
notes?
part?
What is what?
Okay, first of all, anybody could ask for their road to become a public easement road if they supplied their deeds, if they came to the town, and it became accessible to anybody to traverse with 2 or more year-round residents.
Okay.
But in state law, the terms were used interchangeably. Private road is a private road. A private way is also the old term for the easement road. So when you're looking at state statutes and stuff, you have to understand that difference. A private way is an easement road.
Okay, so private road is a private way,
Road. But a private way is the old term for easement.
public easement, okay.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
when you look up stuff, sometimes that can be confusing.
Thank you.
Where is that referenced in here?
I'm just making sure that when you guys go forward, if anybody starts researching and they're looking up this or that and state things, that you don't get confused by it,
You just explained.
because it is confusing.
It's not referenced in here, the way we
As long
put
as,
it.
as long as you know, no one looks up the wrong thing. I just know that
No,
because,
it's
like I
important.
said, it's come up before the town 3 different times on what to do with easement roads, and I've learned a lot.
You're not wrong.
Okay, Carrie, go ahead.
On page 524, under waivers for roadway design, can you tell me what D actually means?
I'm sorry, for which letter? B as in boy or D
D as
as?
in dog. What exactly is the definition, or the definition intended for appropriate?
Yeah, it depends on the planning board's discretion, right? I mean, there's a lot of unique circumstances that necessitate a waiver request by an applicant. So, I mean, there could be significant grading impacts, you know, so maybe there's a condition applied that a retaining wall is built or something like that to that nature.
Could we
Again,
use just clear terminology, please?
yeah, I mean, the board is, I think, familiar with, you know, how,
This board can
How would,
change, and it does change every year, so moving forward, we need to be very clear on our ordinances for new members on the planning board, so that there's not the same confusion that has landed us in court in the past.
Good point.
So we can put a few examples in perhaps,
we can.
just a thought.
I have a question.
Yes.
And I apologize, I haven't read this, I picked this up 5 minutes ago. I'm pretty familiar with most of our codes in the past, and some of the evolution. The planning board gets in a situation where an applicant desires to make a roadway of either category, or any category listed here, and wants a waiver in roadway. Does the planning board, under this set of rules, have the authority to grant that, or does it have to go to appeals?
It'd be up to the applicant to request that waiver from the planning
Planning
board.
board.
Yeah.
Does the planning board have the authority to make a road narrower than the
Yes.
standard?
Yes,
It does, okay. Well, is that clear?
They can, I believe it does allow it, the language that suggested.
Okay. I haven't read this, so I know that's happened before and it's a quandary, so. Thank you.
Other comments, questions?
well, we've got to work on this, what Karen brought up about appropriate conditions to, what can we use for terminology that clarifies that?
Well, I think if you read it as a whole, read down through it, the last thing makes sense is it will apply appropriate conditions to any waiver we might grant. So it seems actually to follow, if you read down, it's like it follows. But you have to sort of leave it generally. When we do grant a waiver, appropriate conditions will be required or applied. So to me, that's just gives us a general power to do some waiver. I would say like you have the 6% on the major streets, that's like saying that going up the length of this room, you know, the floor to the top of the waist cot, you know, over the distance, is not really a steep slope. So if there was a certain point where you might want to go to 8 over a short period, you know, the guy could apply for a waiver and do that. It just, there's been a lot of curves and hills in this town, so.
One
Yes.
other question.
To Karen's point, you should be concerned about this,
I'm very
because
concerned about it.
it is very arbitrary. And any of these waivers, we have places elsewhere in our ordinances for waivers that can be applied by the code enforcement office that I don't agree with. So if you do all that, my opinion is, why bother doing all this? You know, if you're gonna have that. So that's what you as a town need to decide.
Every project is unique unto itself. No two lots in this town are the same. So if someone is coming in and we have to take a site walk and see that there's something that's really, really different, they've gotta build a retaining wall, okay, in order to put in a driveway, because the driveway, and here's the lake. All right, that would be a condition that would be appropriate to that situation. Should we put in unique
Well, you already
situation?
got unique in A.
Beg your pardon?
That's in A,
Yeah,
unique circumstances.
yeah, okay, unique
I
circumstances.
just would like to see it clarified as far as, you know, certain standards have to be met, or it needs to be unanimous on the board, or something that clarifies what appropriate means.
Okay, it would have to
Because
be a
it's gonna mean something
unanimous
different to
decision.
every single person.
It would have to be a unanimous decision by the board if we're gonna do a waiver.
No, it will be
No?
done by a majority.
That's
It
what I
could be done
said.
by a majority.
Unanimous means majority.
It's not
No,
required.
unanimous is every single member up there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, Paul.
So you just heard that a retaining wall would qualify for an exception and make that unique. So if it's gonna cost you $1,000 more, is that a hardship? Does that make that unique? I don't know. I don't think it's,
I'm really, as most of you know, a detail-oriented person, and the word appropriate can mean something different to every single person, and we've already been in trouble. Our lawyer fees are already high enough. We don't need our ordinances leaving the door wide open for another suit.
Okay, help me understand that, Karen. What would, I said something about a majority of the board. I said majority, but, okay. Would that be enough to clarify it?
No,
No.
No, it's the
Anything that
word.
needs to pass by a majority.
Right, but what, all right, what are you looking at? Is there a word in your head that's popping up or not?
just not something as vague as appropriate. What do you mean by appropriate? Define it. In this situation, you're talking about roadway design standards. Give some examples. Because again, our planning board changes every year. And these ordinances are what drives your decisions, I'm assuming. I certainly hope. And when we have new members, we got 3 seats coming up this year, so we're gonna have a majority of the board that is either going to be re-upping or replaced.
Yeah.
And appropriate's gonna mean something different to everyone.
Should we take it out of there?
No, I believe that the notion of giving us some flexibility to deal with individual projects is appropriate.
That would, see now,
Okay.
that was a better statement and actually gave a better clarity on what appropriate
You
means.
have the general standards that are written there. And then the applicant will come to us and say, I'd like a variance, or well, not a variance, but I'd like a waiver on certain things. I'm not prepared to grant waivers on major things, but if it's a minor enough thing, I think it ought to be left to the board to allow projects to go forward if the change isn't so great that it affects public welfare.
So individual projects is appropriate? Would that cover it?
I think the
That's
language
the
is fine, you just have to decide whether you want the,
what is appropriate then?
well, then it's decided by a vote of the board.
Your
Appropriate
ordinances,
case-by-case basis.
your ordinances, any changes to an ordinance should remove ambiguity, not create more ambiguity.
Exactly.
In a case by, individual project by a case by case?
Just a question in terms of a waiver situation that the board is uncomfortable making. Does the board have the right to defer that to the appeals board?
It's not in the ordinance.
The applicant, if the waiver was denied, has the ability to go to the appeals.
Is that the only route? Or
Yes.
can you say,
Count.
we're not comfortable, we don't have we don't want to make that decision, we'd rather defer it to the appeals board?
So we're obligated to make a decision, and then either party
Okay.
has the ability to go to the
And they have
appeals.
the option to.
We voted down.
Generally, I mean, there's another thing that I know some towns use frequently, that, the applicant is responsible for, providing proof that they meet all these different standards. And so I've seen in a couple other towns where the applicant is responsible for obtaining a legal opinion. And so it'd be, up to them to go hire an attorney and have that attorney spell out whether it's a written letter or attending at the meeting and going point by point and explaining how. And if, the board disagrees with that, they could still either deny it or, the board could, consult the town's attorney. But generally, I mean, most attorneys are gonna come up with that list and explain the reasoning why.
Well, we have the ability to, either through a fee that's already identified, or through an escrow, to charge the applicant
And
anyway.
a good example would be what is proposed down on Shore Road, is where the guy's, out of his escrow, has got to pay our lawyer to give an opinion on the status of the lot. So that's the same way it would work.
This is supposed to be finished.
The burden is always gonna be on the applicant to show that it's reasonable and relates to the ordinance.
Is there any way we can do this, if this is gonna be for the warrants for the town meeting, just put a hold on that statement, because there are things we've gotta take up after town meeting? If we can't come up with something, can we just write hold on that part of it?
We can, or we could remove the word appropriate and just put conditions are applied.
No,
And
well,
then ask what
no,
conditions.
if you read it from the top, from D
Read the whole
down,
thing.
and you sort of read through the paragraphs, it follows from the flow of the entries, that conditions should be applied. And I guess it's, like you say, it's anybody's guess what's appropriate, but that's decided by a vote of the board.
And just to be clear, waivers only require a majority vote, correct?
That would be my understanding.
What are the possible categories for a waiver?
And that would be the same in the Board of Appeals.
He's your friend who's applying for the waiver.
Yeah.
Well, how do we know?
Well,
That's why we're trying to remove, I think we should be trying to remove this ambiguity, not create more
But if it's a,
confusion.
but David, if it's a person that you know,
General terms.
you're asked in the beginning, do you have a conflict of interest?
No,
If it's a friend, then you
no, I
recuse
would not
yourself.
have a conflict of interest.
But I'm saying, you're saying you don't. We have to take you to your word that you don't have a conflict
That's
of
right.
interest, and you
That's
go
right.
forward. You deal with what's in front of you for the application. I did that with SK and K. I asked Paul if he wanted me to recuse myself. And he said no, he trusted me. And I made my decisions on what was in front of me with the paperwork. And I think that's what we have to do.
I could see there's some disagreement amongst the board a little bit in terms of clarity and those kinds of things. Yeah,
If we're done with that, I have one more question.
okay, good.
Go ahead, cause some more trouble, Phil.
When a water body or a river that's on our plan, that's a significant difference, is too close to a roadway, that's not a possibility for a waiver, right?
There's a setback for new roads and driveways.
Okay, and under that situation, if it arises, the planning board has the authority to tell the applicant to go talk to the DEP to find out if, the wetlands delineation and the setbacks from a stream or river are appropriate?
That'd be a variance.
What's that?
That'd be a variance, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you're right, there would be a variance in that scenario, because these waivers are for the roadway design standards. The
Should be
actual,
able to waiver a setback.
right, it wouldn't be a waiver of setbacks. If they wanted to request that, I mean, again, that's, I think, a different conversation, but yeah, it wouldn't necessarily apply for what we're proposing here. These are just for the design standards, for the,
So the door's not open to waiver of anything.
It says new roads and driveways are prohibited in the resource protection. So it's not allowed.
You can't say, I want to build a
Okay.
bridge.
Okay.
The planning board gives you a
So
waiver.
that's
I
not
don't know if
open
it's
to a
actually-
waiver.
It's not allowed.
Okay. That's a no-no.
But that's a good question. There are places as you drive around other towns where somebody who has a stream between the roads, where he wants to have his
Moving a river.
his house, I've seen small concrete bridges people have put in, so I don't know if that's, how that fits into our understanding.
What was your point, Phil? I'm sorry. What was your point you were just making? I'm sorry.
I don't,
I wasn't, I was
no, he was just
It's
rambling.
just smelling.
Okay.
I think Paul had a good point, though, that not many people heard. Does that fall under the planning board's purview as far as Christina wants to build a driveway and it's got to cross the stream, are we allowed, or is the planning board allowed to say you're allowed to put a culvert in there? Not a culvert, but a concrete, whatever, prefab. Does that fall under that?
Well, if it met the road,
Depends on what the
road
street is.
standards, why not?
Appropriate conditions. Is that something that would fall under that? I don't know.
Well, Let's get into specifics, but that would have
Well,
to.
that's the problem with that statement, is it's not specific. I'm not saying the planning board needs some leeway to lean this way or the other.
Yeah,
I mean, everything can't be set in stone. We're not New York City by any means. We live in the woods. So there has to be some leeway.
well, let's ask this guy. Say somebody wanted just that scenario. There's a road runs here, there's a stream, and then there's a little bit of upland he wants to pull his house. Could in Sebago someone request under our standards to install one of those sort of concrete bridges you see around?
Yeah, I mean, I think based on this hypothetical, I'm guessing it would have to go the route of variance. And so they would,
Or a design that would probably, if somebody knew they had a stream that they had to cross, they would probably come in front of the planning board with a design,
Yeah.
you would think.
well, if it's for like a residential driveway, I mean, we don't, force people to come forward for single-family homes for a driveway before the planning board for that route. Is that what you're talking about?
Doesn't it depend on the size of the stream?
I mean, yeah, again, like, these are all,
Yeah.
I mean, we could,
If you're planning on putting in a concrete whatever, that's probably gonna need a little bit of designing.
yeah. I generally tend to shy away from including examples of what a specific, condition or situation might look like, because then the board gets in trouble if maybe they disagree with that, or maybe there are unique enough circumstances or other circumstances that, that kind of tie into those things that like aren't explicitly listed.
Right.
But then they could come forward and be like, well, I met, this specific example, so you're required to grant me one. And I
I agree
generally
completely.
shy away from.
I'm not saying I don't believe in what ifs.
Yeah,
What ifs are for other people, but, there's gotta be some leeway in the board, I think. I think there has to be something in there that allows the planning board to move a little bit. I'm not saying this far, but this far.
Which there is, but the word appropriate gives them a mile long.
No, like I said, not this long, this long.
Well, be on that.
nebulous, I think is the word.
Move on?
sure, yeah, whichever one you want.
Yep.
Guess what's next?
Yep. So we've got, next one on the list is concrete asphalt paving plans.
Okay, yep, so the next change, proposed ordinance change, excuse me, relates to the concrete plants, asphalt paving plants, cement plants. And so this was, from my understanding, some previous work that was done between, I think, the Ordinance Review Committee and the Planning Board. And so this is really capturing that work that was already done and adding that to our schedule of uses on page 4-6.
Wasn't there some question of whether the town could absolutely prohibit certain activities?
There was some discussion on it before, Paul, you're correct.
And they came to the conclusion they could in fact do so?
I think the direction and decision from the planning board was to only allow, per the planning board, in the village district, temporary asphalt paving plants and temporary concrete plants, again, with planning board approval, prohibiting it outright for just permanent asphalt paving plants, concrete plants, and cement plants in all zones.
I thought the meeting that you weren't at, Brett, that your associate was at, I thought we
Yes.
asked for a legal opinion on that.
Again, I wasn't here, I'm not sure.
I don't
defer to
think you
Christina.
did. I'm sorry, I don't think you did.
He did some.
He did some research while he was sitting here and he
Yes.
found that it was one of the activities that you could prohibit in most districts.
Yeah, that's right, that's what.
So we can absolutely prohibit those three items without it violating state law, we feel.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
Yep, so just to be, again, clear, so asphalt paving plants would not be permitted in the village district, rural district, or rural residential district. Temporary asphalt paving plants would not be permitted in the rural residential and rural district. Temporary asphalt paving plants, though, would be permitted per planning board approval in the village district. And again, an application for that would obviously come before you folks, and you guys would make that determination. Concrete plants and cement plants are both outright prohibited in the village district, rural residential district, and rural district. And then temporary concrete plants would be prohibited within the rural residential and rural districts. And then again, granted, or would be allowable per planning board review within the village district there. A couple other things that are important to note here.
Do we want to ask the public what they think of that?
Yeah.
Well, just let me finish here real quick. So a couple other things, just to clarify. So while we are allowing the temporary asphalt paving plants and temporary concrete plants in the village district, on page 5-29, we did add a performance standard for these types of uses, requiring that all of their operations are required to be a minimum of 1,500 feet from a residentially zoned property or a single-family residence, whichever distance is further. So within the village district, that's on page 5-29. Yep, so again, that standard there, that's a performance standard that would require in an instance where if a temporary one was proposed and the planning board was reviewing that, they would be required to have a minimum of 1,500 feet distance from their operations to a residentially zoned property or a single-family residence, which is pretty difficult to meet, if at all.
What is temporary?
Good question. That's my next point. So also in section 9-3, you'll begin, 9-2, we did add definitions for asphalt paving plants, permanent and temporary, for cement plants and concrete plants, both permanent and temporary as well. So we did add definitions for those as well.
Wouldn't it make sense to have that right there?
Well, two different questions.
The definition of temporary, would it make sense to have it written in the paragraph?
Falls under definitions.
Well, I get that. I get that.
Just like codes.
But sometimes you can put, for example, I know of one that says temporary, less than 30 days, or less than 100 and whatever, 120 days. And that's usually all they put in, and then under definitions, they actually clearly put it, but temporary, again, ambiguous, so.
Did you hear what he said before, Karen? Where he said it can't be within 1,500 feet of a house?
Oh, yeah.
Show me a place in this town, in the village district, that isn't 1,500 feet from a house.
So it's basically a
Grown center
poison pill. This what, so I have a question. What is this gentleman doing here when a board member is saying he wants to hear from the audience, and this fellow snubs him while he reads to you the proposed new ordinances that you don't seem to understand?
We understand them perfectly. This is supposed to be a public hearing. We're not even supposed to be up here talking. You guys are supposed to be telling us what you think of these proposed changes. That's the way this is supposed to work. But anyway.
You don't want to get me started.
Here we are. So what does the public think about that? That was my question. What does the public think about how this proposed changes to,
I think all the wording here is a poison pill. What you're saying is you're not going to have it at all because we've set up so many criteria that it can't possibly be met. So if that's what you're really saying, can't have any concrete, can't have any asphalt, can't have anything else, don't beat around the bush, say that.
and that's what we were asking.
this is sneaky Pete, what you're doing here.
That's what we
It's
were
all in the
asking.
verbs.
That's what we were asking, Richard, at a previous meeting. We wanted to make them no, 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 no on all of them. And we were told that we couldn't do that at
Who
one
told
of
you
the
that?
meetings. Huh?
Who told you that?
Well, the town planner.
Your
told us.
planning department, Richard.
My planning department?
Yes.
And then this fellow? This fellow,
office.
we ended his contract.
We got this information from the code enforcement, the planning office, whatever you wanna call it. I think they're calling themselves a planning office these days.
We're not the authors, we're the proofreaders.
Well, I understand that, but you know, in the structure of our government, you guys are supposed to be coming up with the codes based upon the needs of the community. Not some nebulous thing that some egghead someplace is going, oh God, this is a problem in New York City, we need to solve it for Sebago.
These changes were directed at us, not by us. So you've got to deal with that at the select board level.
If you wanna know what's what,
Yeah.
we would need to be dealing with these.
That's right.
And you see, that's all backwards. You guys, in my mind, I'm pretty sure that our government was set up in such a way that we, as the select board, have the final say about what ends up on the warrant. We trust you good people, to good minds and smart people, to think it through and decide what's best for the community.
That's the way it's supposed to
And I
work.
hear this
Richard.
fellow just reading book and page of something that came out of a magazine someplace.
That's the way it's supposed to work, but that's not the way that we were directed by the select board to do it. So, you know, you've
I
got to
must
talk
not
to
We
the
have
were-
select
been
we
on
were-
that select board.
You've got to
I
talk to
beg your
the
pardon?
select
I
board.
must not have been on that
No,
select
you
board.
weren't. You weren't on it yet, I don't think. You've walked into this. So anyway,
There are far more worthy things that need the planning board's attention with regards to our ordinances
Right.
than this stuff.
right. That's,
The problem is that when the
I
ORC
agree with
was,
you completely.
okay,
So
there's
why are we
still,
talking about this?
May I?
Let's stop for a minute, let's
May
stop.
I?
for a minute. Just a point first, if I could.
Of course.
These came from, if we look at our current plans that we have for town, a comprehensive plan, essentially it talks about trying to keep things rural as much as we could. That's one of the major factors in there. And these notions came a couple of years ago. We started talking about them, started addressing them and putting together some ordinance for that.
when you say
And
we,
this
who
is
do
the
you
result
mean?
of that.
Who do you mean by we? It's the ORC.
Yes, the
Yes.
ordinance review committee.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly, that's what.
And they were going off in 60 million different directions.
104, I think, was the
Okay,
number.
and so they were disbanded. They were going to the lawyers, they were going in directions that the select board didn't feel was necessary.
Is this
Then they
useful?
return to the planning board.
once again, she just said it. We're being directed by the select board, and that's not the way it's supposed to work, Richard, you know it.
So,
I agree,
go ahead.
I agree.
Well, I think this conversation's off track.
Can I go?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Where is the track? We're supposed to be in charge of writing ordinances.
Correct.
That is the legal assignment of the planning board.
That's fine. So how is this line of conversation pertinent to this hearing?
This hearing
I'm not-
seems to be out of
It's
order.
not, we're supposed to be listening to you people, you know, what you think of the ordinance as it's written here.
Can I explain what's happening?
Sure.
May I? The town got caught with its pants down with pouring sand and gravel.
Yep.
That's what happened.
Yes.
There was nothing in the ordinances that said anything about quarries. That's what the problem is. So if the ordinances don't say anything about concrete plants or cement paving plants, somebody can come to town and there's not gonna be anything in the book. And guess what? Sebago will be caught with his pants down again. And the planning board won't be able to do anything about it because it doesn't say anything in the book. So that's why these are in here, to stop these from coming to town. Simple. Done.
Thank you, Andrew, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil?
Thank you. I look at the logic of where you would put a device in this context.
Yeah.
And back to the quote, if you were designing a whole new set of ordinances and there were no ordinances, would anybody in their right mind ever put a quarry in the village zone versus some other zone that's less complicated and less busy? And the answer is probably no. So that was the foundation for a lot of this exploration and refinement. On this particular item, I find the logic seems to be backwards to me. If you're gonna allow a concrete or an asphalt paving plant anywhere, does it make sense to have the option even to put it in a village zone versus a rural zone? So this seems backwards to me.
If you look at
Yeah.
the village zones and where they are though,
Yep.
those are really growth zones. Don't get confused by the village.
Oh, I know.
Don't get confused by the name village, like a nice little cozy village. Typically, when you have this many residents in an area, that's where commercialization happens.
Yep.
And you leave your rural and residential, rural area rural.
Exactly.
All right? So I think the village district here is a misnomer. It just happens to be the name that the town picked years ago.
Yep.
So if you're going to have commercialization, it should be directed in that growth zone. That's why they are where major road intersections are.
Yep.
Better highways, better roads, so.
Yep.
And these,
It just seemed to
uh,
me that that's a little reverse right
Yeah.
there, but
well, these,
again, it's an opinion.
It was written the
temporary
other way.
plants are supposed to be job specific, they're not supposed to, you know, they're only there for the job.
Yeah.
You know,
And you may want that somewhere.
you may want that somewhere.
I just question it with the density, and I know the products these things put out. So I would assume the option of having them in a village zone is maybe you want the option to have it somewhere, it would be in the rural zone.
It's not really a
I
necessity.
just agree with you 100%.
I don't think it's really a necessity for the town of Sebago though, you know?
Andrew started this correctly when we talked about quarries. And if you look at Gorham, not 1,500 feet from the University of Maine, in downtown Gorham, there is a huge quarry.
There is.
It's been there for 15 or 20 years, and they've lived in complete harmony with the rest of the village district. You can't build a septic system without aggregate. You can't build concrete without aggregate. You can't build a community without aggregate. It's got to come from someplace, and they have very successfully mined, not 1,500 feet from the University of Maine, and we blew this thing all out of proportion. Our children were gonna get, what was it?
Silica
Quartz lung.
Analysis or-
They were gonna get quartzite lung from the dust that was gonna come from a quarry.
Richard,
The whole thing was just blown all out of
they
proportion.
weren't denied.
Off topic.
They weren't, yes, this is off topic, but you were on the appeal board. They were not denied the right to have a quarry here. They were sent to do a little bit more homework, and that was it.
You're right, they shot themselves in the foot, and for the life of me, I don't understand. what
Okay,
they did.
so,
But all of this madness that you're doing today is a result of that. Batch plants for concrete, batch plants for hot top, you're gonna need them. They're right down the road here, just over the Baldwin line, in the pit that's owned by Anderson.
We can get them there.
Thank you, guys. Grove, go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of off subject here. Let's go back to this issue of asphalt concrete things. I like most of what is written by it, but somebody brought up the temporary thing. What is it? I mean, how many days? You could define it simply in days. I mean, each one is gonna take, one may take 30, one may take 120. So, I mean, maybe up to so many days might be something to do that in.
Yeah, that's rational.
Because it's been living so long.
Yeah,
Well, it's like living in a trailer. You can't live more than 180 days
Yeah.
in a trailer, a camper.
so a temporary,
No, it's a-
temporary.
a temporary asphalt plant, it says asphalt paving plant temporary. An asphalt paving plant that is temporary in nature, typically portable for producing small batches of mix close to the targeted construction site. So you have a construction site, that batch plant is targeted for that construction site.
Specific.
So, I don't know, it may take them 2 years to pave 114 and 107, I don't know, but
That's right.
it would be temporary. It would not be a permanent fix.
They all up. Job
believe-
specific. You know?
Well, you have the freedom to inject those terms too, correctly? So,
Yep,
maybe it's all right just the way it is.
okay, we're all set. Any more on that?
Bill's got a question.
Sorry, go ahead.
Wouldn't that go back to the board making that educated decision on the project when that comes in front of them? To set those terms?
Yeah, we should read it.
Correct?
Yeah, we have definitions and all, yeah.
Right, so you guys can say, okay, your temporary project is from here to here.
Let's do this temporary.
And you guys are capable of doing that, correct?
Yeah.
Problem solved.
That would make it job specific.
Correct. As a practice, and it's gonna take more than a year to fix 114.
As a practical matter, within 20 miles of here, there are facilities for both asphalt production and cement production. And I don't know who, unless it was some major project, who wouldn't just have it brought in.
So I see the point of having it temporary under your jurisdiction, but, you know, because one may take 30.
Kind of a
He's
point.
got a point here. It may take a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years.
But
We don't know.
if we do a 6-month permit and it takes them 2 years, we get 3 more fees paid to us. To offset our taxes.
Do it that way. Yeah, interesting. Good, thank you. Next. Amendments to the land use ordinance to add staff level review.
What page would that be on?
6-3.
Yep, so this is in a couple different places, but yes, that's correct. 6 dash,
6-3 and 7-2.
yep, there you go. 6-3 and 7-2, they both say essentially the same thing. This is implementing a third type of review, which would empower staff to do staff level reviews for smaller projects. We define those as projects involving less than 2,500 square feet of non-residential floor area, projects involving the installation of less than 2,500 square feet of impervious surface area, any projects involving backlot driveways or up to 2 residential lots that are not a subdivision, and that the proposed development includes the development of backlots and/or the construction of backlot driveways as defined within this ordinance. And then we do have a standard in there as well that in the event that the code officer or staff is not, whether it's comfortable or it is unclear, if it meets staff level review, they do have the ability to elevate that up to the planning board to make that determination.
I don't know, I'd like to add an amendment to that, but I don't know if it's proper to do it here or wait till our meeting.
Wait till your meeting.
You can't vote
Who's
on it
first?
here anyway.
You choose.
I think Karen was first.
I was just, yeah, okay, I'll wait till the meeting.
Can we please clarify the word staff? Is that, would that be staff in the CEO's, in the planning office? Or are we talking town staff? Are we, I mean, the planning
It
board
could
is not
mean-
considered staff.
Is
because
Garrett
you're
gonna figure this out?
So we need to clarify what you mean by staff.
It says right in there that it's gonna be the code enforcement officer, and we're gonna add or their designee. It could also include town manager, it could include public works, it could include the fire chief, depending on what the project is.
It should be the code officer and the code officer only.
If the code officer needs help, that's what the planning board's for.
Right.
And I'm gonna bring up a concern of mine. What town do you live in?
Naples.
What town do you live in?
Newfield.
Okay, what town do you live in? You're in Sebago, yay, okay, so of everyone that works in this town hall, we have 2 people that are actually residents. So when you're talking a staff level review for something in Sebago, I would prefer it to be decided by someone who lives in Sebago. Thank you.
No, you can't do that. There's criteria that you have to go by.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to mention the obvious again. When it says a site plan application that's deemed as a staff level review by the code enforcement officer, and you should strike and town planner because that was eliminated. That position was eliminated, so
That's
that
not
should be
true.
struck.
That's not
It
true.
wasn't eliminated, it got
It's so
transferred to her.
deeply in the ordinances, it's hard to get rid of it. So we incorporated a new title for our CEO.
Right, but it shouldn't be and, it should be slash,
It should.
See,
I'll
there
do
we
that.
go.
not and, because that
That means
denotes
two
two
people.
I
people.
agree with this lady.
And there are not two people,
planning
there is
slash
one
That's
person,
right.
and that's the code enforcement officer slash town planner.
And it should be that way throughout all of the ordinance.
Correct.
Staff level review sounds like too many cooks in the kitchen. The town manager can get involved, anybody on the staff can get involved.
Richard,
No.
it defines in staff level review by code enforcement officer and town planner.
Thank you.
So
That's where it belongs.
the whole thing should be deleted,
Why?
because it's useless. The CEO is already, covering all this material. There shouldn't be any question about who's gonna do it, it's the code enforcement officer.
Right?
This changes it from 0 to 5,000 to 2,500 to 5,000.
Scratch the whole thing. The code officer can determine whether or not it's important or not, or if it meets ambiguous lines where it becomes questionable. There's too many rules.
Okay. Who's next?
One on, section F.
Page
9-1, F9-1, there we go. Any projects involving less than 2,500 square feet, 2,500 square feet of gross non-residential floor area. So what happens if I want to build myself a 3,500 square foot house?
This doesn't apply.
What does that mean?
Non-residential, it says. In other words, it's talking
It's a
about a
business,
commercial
small
building.
business or whatever, yeah, yeah.
Okay, my bad. I thought it was residential. I apologize.
And this language was borrowed from some other ordinance, I assume.
The 2,500 number was selected to align with our ordinance, but the terminology of non-residential floor area, that was pulled from the
That's pulled
town.
from ours. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was pulled from where?
No, sorry, the non-residential floor area, like the terminology there, that was pulled from the town of Raymond. That one's, yeah.
So does this basically mean that anything listed under the schedule of uses this applies to?
Say that again.
Any of these items in this, under the schedule of uses this applies to? This staff level review?
If it meets the criteria for it, yeah. Again, I mean, these are meant
Things
for,
that normally would have gone before the planning board are now under staff level review as long as it's under 2,500 square feet.
Keep in mind, this is, a project is approved, then within 2 years, they come back for an addition. That gives the code enforcement office the right to handle that, right? If it's after 2 years, then they would have to come to the planning board.
correct, yes, we do have that 2-year time frame on there, but it also does exclude shoreline zoning. So I mean, that's still, you know, the board reserves the right to review shoreline zoning applications.
Yeah, Joe, go ahead.
Another question. Does this, in view of what the state is in the process of doing, which is handing down project structures, adding buildings to lots, multiple buildings to lots in some cases, in bypassing both the planning board and pretty much telling the CEO what they have to do, does this all set right with that set of guidance that's coming down from the state?
We don't have guidance yet.
No,
Really?
because we don't know.
So I wouldn't develop this until we have that guidance, so we can be sure we're in line with what we know is coming at us.
Yeah, comprehensive plan.
They do
That
change
too.
their mind every year.
So I don't mind having a short form of review. I think that's more efficient in some cases, but they should be clearly defined what those cases are. And we ought to wait until we're sure of the final draft of the latest hand down from the state regarding both subdivision structures, which looks like they're gonna go to 5. Instead of 3. That increases the burden on the CEO's workshop for one, job description.
We may not have that information filled for another 2 or 3 years. You're looking at the state.
Well, no, this one is gonna be mandated by the end of this year, 26. That's what I'm
If you
talking about.
believe
Still-
it,
Isn't
that's
it next
good.
year, didn't they, I
So
think they
there-
extended it out
But
to
it's in court with
27
some
something.
towns.
Phil,
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
the only area in this part
yeah.
would be backlots involving backlot driveways.
Oh, so this is isolated to those small,
As far as residential, everything else is non-residential, correct?
Right.
Yeah, and I believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, are you referencing the accessory dwelling units?
I
like
am.
the yeah, those kind of things.
If
We
you,
can't help that.
well, we can't help.
Well, we can, I mean, we can, again, I think once we have a better picture of the state's like final adopted language, and I know it's back and forth in the courts, and there's also another.
It's in court in Scarborough. so-
I know, and there's another fixed bill as well that's trying to amend that as well to remove the sewer
Yeah.
requirements and things like that.
If
But-
it's simple and it's well defined, I'm not against that.
Right, yeah, I mean, I think that's something that,
Thank
you know,
you.
hopefully this next cycle, next year, we can take a look at,
Yes.
but, you know, this is, yeah.
And things have to evolve, so.
so let me ask you this, Brett. If you go into the schedule of uses, every single thing on the schedule of uses that is listed as planning board review would now be subject to that ordinance, anything under 2,500 square feet of floor space or impervious surface would be in the purview of the code enforcement officer and not the planning board.
Correct, if it was under 2,500 square feet of non-residential floor area.
So every single thing under the schedule of uses that's now in the purview of the planning board would be in the purview of the code enforcement officer.
Correct.
Up to 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, up to 2,500 square feet of both impervious surface and floor space.
For non-residential structures, yes.
Yeah, unless it's on a backlot driveway and blah, 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 so, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Anybody have any thoughts on that? No?
So there are other places in our ordinance that talks about square footage of buildings before it kicks into our purview?
I mean, look at it all.
Or is this creating it? In other words, this is creating a 2,500 foot standard above which we'll look at it, and below which it'll be handled by the staff. All right. You have to
That's what it
decide.
says.
I'm thinking that 2,500 feet would be about roughly twice the size of this room, maybe? 50 by 50?
Yeah, 50 by 50.
For what?
estimating what's 2,500 square feet? Twice this room?
50 by 50.
The only construction,
That's 10 by 250.
Make it
It's
look-
not a very big area. I don't, 2,500 square feet isn't a very big area.
But that would be
Great scheme
great,
of things.
any sort of businesses or anything that normally come before the planning board would now be under the purview of the enforcement officer only.
by size, yes.
So we would have no oversight of anything, drainage, erosion, water, sewer, anything would just be.
Apparently not.
I'm just saying, you know.
We've got a little faith in it.
That's right.
Well, no, I'm just not sure that that people understand what it entails. But anyway, if everybody's fine with it, great, you know, I'm just saying.
Well,
Pointed
across
out.
the town, if it'll be a warrant, I would
Just
can
pointing
get
it
shot
out.
down.
Other
You wanna
comments?
Put rental cabins in, you can. Signs up, takeout.
Yeah, all that stuff.
There's a list of things that,
It's quite a list.
Well, here's a question for you. Are short-term rentals considered a business?
We have no
Or is
regulation
that-
on them.
Well, exactly my point. Or is that, would that fall under this, under 2,500 if it is a small building that they're planning on renting?
If
Where
we-
we don't have an ordinance
I can't
regarding
even look
short-term
at it
rentals?
that way. I
If
don't,
we
Would that be
develop a
considered
short-term
residential?
rental ordinance, ordinance, and that it did come under commercial, then yes, yeah, it would. Yeah.
Did you go to that meeting with the short-term rental thing?
I did, yes.
This
It
room
was
is packed.
This room
Yes, it
was
was.
packed.
It's everything, it's all the
Totally
ordinances that take
Yeah,
place
it
in the
wasn't
future
packed
that
with all
we
residents.
develop too.
No, it wasn't.
Well,
It was
it was
packed
still
with
packed.
interest.
It was still packed, but,
It just shows that there is a considerable industry in our town that's doing that.
But again,
but-
is that classified as a business or a residence? Because in You know, if
It's not
it's under
classified at all.
2,500 square feet,
Like, I suggest on that,
It would have to be a
and
new
this
ordinance.
is for business, would that apply?
quantify it, you know, if you wanna find out, you gotta figure out how to quantify what's going on in the town. I don't know how you'd go about doing that.
You're not gonna get one to fly in this town.
So does an automobile service station, do they pump gas?
Usually.
My honest
Usually,
concern
that's
is,
the
hear me out on this. So,
I was talking, Andrew. So an automobile service station could be pumping gas. So it could just be a little booth with a footprint big enough to hold some tanks, above ground tanks, below ground tanks, it doesn't matter. Do you want that to go before the planning board or not? Do you trust that?
And it's
To the
nothing, and it's
code
nothing
enforcement
against,
office.
it's nothing against the planning department that we have now, it's just.
Not at all.
You know,
why are we
in
just
the
figuring this out
future,
now?
you're leaving that up to one individual in the future. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
That doesn't
I
make a
don't
lot
know.
of sense.
Why are we just figuring this out now? You guys didn't read this?
Yeah,
What I think I heard him
I've got an
say,
amendment written up to it, okay?
What I think I heard him
Which we'll do at
say-
the next, at our meeting.
was that this has kind of been forced down their throat. They didn't have much to do with its formation, its concept, or its ideas. It's been a generation of Sebago techniques. And pretty much, he's been here writing that, he's been in this office, writing
I wouldn't
these
pick on,
ordinances,
I
bringing
wouldn't
them
pick
in
on,
here. What?
Don't pick on Sebago Technics. It's really,
Have they written them, David? Did you
they
read them?
have, but the ideas are not from them, I don't believe. I believe the directive comes from where we spoke about earlier.
So, the committee that you're talking about was dissolved,
Yes.
and now the,
No, I'm not talking about that committee.
you got another one you want to dissolve?
No,
This wasn't born in that committee,
this
What's
wasn't born in that committee.
Where was it born from?
Where was it born?
the town hall.
That's nebulous, Phil.
I don't have a better definition than that.
Then it
I
sounds
wasn't
pretty
included.
thin. So why is this planning board not looking at the things that the community does have a serious interest in, like
Because we were directed
short-term
not to,
rentals?
we were directed not to, we were given direction on what ordinances we were to
How would
develop.
the select board change your current direction so that we could get something done?
How about they take away all our money to address issues of legality with these
I
ordinances?
gotta go outside.
So we
In
can't
case you
do
didn't
that.
know, we're broke. We
I
already spent it all.
I didn't spend any money, Mr. Selectman. I'm pretty much done here.
So I,
Yeah,
come on, let's keep going.
less contentious,
Well, to
please.
be,
So-
Continue.
I believe that this item came up as a result of sometimes our planning board takes too long a time to get a project through the system. And I think that's where that started with, I think. I think that's correct.
Yeah, we discussed it at a workshop with the school board, and they agreed that, you know, there was a need for some of the smaller things to just be seen by staff.
Too much reviewing in the planning board review.
we need to remember, a lot of the development in this town doesn't go through the planning board. A person gets a lot and then works through the code enforcement officer to get requisite permits, and it doesn't appear before the planning board. This would be a commercial version of that. In other words, it's a commercial building up to a certain amount, in the same way that if somebody gets a lot and wants a commercial building, I'm not saying I support it one way or another, I'm just seeing the rationale behind the thing, that not every project needs to come before us.
It would seem like commercial ventures would come before the planning board.
I wouldn't mind that, but let's
I
keep
think the
discussing, Richard.
CEO is smart enough to know when things need to come before the planning board.
You'd like to think.
I would have to trust that, Richard. That is her position. If I
Okay.
don't trust that, then I need to have somebody look into firing her and hiring somebody that we can trust. She's in a position, she has all of the certifications. I think she's bright enough to know if she needs some additional help, she has a chance to call the other planner. if she thinks she's in over her head. Or she can come to the planning board and say, I think I need some help. I have to try, her, I mean, whoever's in that position.
Okay, Tina, we're kind of getting way up the.
We're-
As a general question though, it comes down to, do we want the planning board to review commercial developments in this town
Yes.
or not?
I would think yes.
I would think so.
Yes.
At least give it a cursory review.
Especially considered we're a rural little town.
I have no problem with that.
It doesn't need to be exhaustive, it doesn't need to take months, but it should.
Well, it's gonna take months, the planning board process takes months.
I
Well, I
would
wouldn't
think
see in our definition of things that that would be a major project. It would be a commercial project, but it would be a minor project subject to planning board review.
It's 90 days.
Okay, so thank you.
So it's a
So we move
decision.
on to,
Can I just ask a question? Would you be in favor of the code enforcement officer handling the back lot provisions for 2 house lots or less? Does that seem like a good idea?
Not the way it's written right now.
Yes.
You read it?
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, I would too.
Yep.
This is not the one I was reading earlier.
Yes, I think the CEO is very capable of doing a backlot driveway with 2 house lots on it.
Yeah. Two house
That's
lots.
streamlined in the process.
I also think they're capable of making decisions about 2,500-foot commercial buildings, but as a question of policy, do we want the board to weigh in?
Yes, that's it.
I would prefer it land on the planning board's shoulders instead of one person's shoulders in this town.
Because it's gonna raise some policy questions about what sort of commercial development.
So can I just read this? Yeah. I know, we're not gonna vote on anything, but this is what I would suggest. And I don't know if I should even be doing that at this point, but,
We'd like to hear it.
huh?
We'd like to hear it.
Okay. Okay, so planning board authority to require review upon its own motion. The planning board may upon its own motion and by majority vote at a duly noticed meeting require that a site plan application otherwise eligible for staff level review be reviewed as a minor site plan review where it determines that the proposed development may have impact warranting planning board review. Such determinations shall be based on potential impacts including, but not limited to, traffic, drainage, environmental resources, or neighborhood compatibility. So I would just add that to this
Well,
section.
Our current ordinance, I guess, requires the planning board to review these commercial projects, is that correct?
Yes.
So we might as well just, if the policy decision is to have us involved, we might as well just not have it and make some reference to their ability to do the back lots and perhaps some of the other things. That's just a thought.
okay. All right, yes?
A question on whether or not it's commercial. If it's commercial and it's in the planning board's hands, then you have public hearings and the public has the right to discuss it, right?
Yeah,
If
most likely
if
we
it's
would
not
have.
with the planning board, but it's through the CEO, does the public get notified of what that might be?
Negative.
Not the way
That's
this
a
is
good
written.
point.
Not until they start breaking dirt.
Not,
Yep.
not required,
Is that
That's a good point. I think.
consideration, yeah, for sure.
This whole idea of a shorter process comes from one of 2 entries that I've seen in my experience. One is an overload situation where the planning board cannot keep up with things and you need a shorter version for a very few things. But those very few things take a huge amount of time for the planning board when it's that busy. So that's one way. The other way is the contractor's influence in a town, and they want short circuits.
Yep.
So that's the 2 ways that this happens and this conversation comes about. So this town has to decide what they want.
So the planning board ought to get a look at it, decide whether or not it ought to do staff level review, or whether the planning board ought to review it, and there you go.
There you go.
Agreed, that makes sense.
Yeah. Which would, so that the CEO would have to bring that to either the previous meeting, or the meeting before all of this, you know,
You
staff
never will
review's gonna
add
take
time
place,
to that,
or,
those projects.
or she would probably have to possibly meet with the chairman and have that discussion, and the chairman pass that information on to the.
This really should only happen in a very finite box of
Right.
situations.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
You need definition for that.
The key point is that it's commercial, because houses of that size are being built through the CEO at the present time. I mean, it seems straightforward.
yeah.
It does take the burden off of you, but as because if somebody comes and is displeased with the commercial thing, at least it's gone through the process of public hearings before the board.
It's 5 children instead of 1 child.
Yeah.
So the process, does a select board have to have a public hearing on this ordinance change?
Yes.
Yes.
Of course.
If it's a warrant item, yes.
Does it go in with all the other warrant items when they have a public
Well,
hearing?
typically, it's one meeting and you cover all the warrants.
Right,
This
okay,
would be one of those warrants.
okay.
But if you're not,
And the way I look at it, it hasn't always been done that way, it's been split up too.
they have to approve changes, but if we're not gonna propose it as a change, they don't have to do that.
But we have some things in this section that's been presented to the general public. Removing the 2,500 square foot sections here, which is, I think is what I'm hearing everybody say, is that a significant change?
Yes, it would be, it's not a de minimis change.
No, I don't think we have to,
So do we
personally,
remove this whole section?
I don't think we have to remove that section if we add that portion that I just read to it, because that gives the purview back to the planning board if it wants it.
I'm just saying, work needs to be done on
Right,
that definition
right.
of a few things you're gonna do that way,
Right.
that's all. And that might be the perfect solution, I don't know.
You know, you have to have some sort of formal presentation to the board, and then the board needs to make a decision.
Yeah.
So we can't necessarily take it up on our own, because we heard somebody down the street wants to do something.
But there's one more point I'd like to make, and then I'm done for this item. When we do things like this, when the state does this hand-down thing for multiple units, for lots, and they say anything under a subdivision now, which is 5, not 3 the way it used to be, is gonna double her workload. We better plan on helping her be able to handle that workload, and that will cost some money. Thank you.
Okay.
So what do we do now?
You've made note of it. You will
We
talk
know
about
it,
it.
we move on. Yep, we go. So let's talk about the fire hydrant ordinance.
Was that all that was on the?
That's the next one going.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Online, yes.
Thank you, Liz.
Yes.
Yeah, we had one other little piece on the, we talked about that. Bill, you want to talk about this one? Bill's the originator of requesting this.
Okay. Go for it.
Now look at you.
Yeah, sure, no problem, I'll stand up. Okay. Need big shoulders. Yeah, so this is a fire hydrant ordinance. It's a takeoff on what was drafted 15 years ago. It didn't go anywhere, so times have changed, and we gotta get ahead of the game. So that's what this is all about, so. It's basically having a standard in town from fire ponds to cistern tanks, the authorization form, the standards, and fees involved with maintenance if it's turned over to town and specs thereof. Yes, Tina?
I have one question, Phil. Under
Shoot.
1D under general rules,
1D, yes.
D as in dog.
Yep.
Okay. That's talking about they've got to have a $10,000 bond per hydrant. And if they don't take care of it within 365 days, they forfeit the money to the town.
Yep.
But they're still responsible for the installation of a required hydrant. Now, do they have to post another $10,000 bond, or does it go to civil action? How do you get a developer that's not holding up their
That'd
end?
be your purview as a planning board.
Okay, that comes to us. Okay. And you'd come to us and say, this is my situation, right?
Yes, I don't see a developer giving away $10,000 though.
Well, I don't either, but I was trying to think nasty, like, I
Yep.
was supposed to, we were trying
Just
to.
basically to hold them to it, to make sure that they
Yep.
do it.
Okay.
Well, it's simply a bond you're asking for.
Yeah,
So it's not gonna cost them $10,000.
no,
They may never get another bond if they don't.
correct. And the planning board could, deny them any future work in this town as well. So that, that gives you the authority for that.
Probably the sensible thing might be to just reauthorize the bond.
I say so. I sat on the planning board for 5 years, and we approved, I don't know, 3 hydrants for this town. One up on Kimball Corner Road, one on Hancock Pond Road, and Peabody Pond. None of them been installed, and that was years ago, and I'm not trying to bash
There was
anybody.
nothing allocated for Kimball Corner Road either.
Those Kirk gave you money for Kimball Corner Road.
No.
I'm not talking about that.
No,
But
it was-
anyway.
it was Hancock Pond Road, and I can go in on this. We're working with the landowner, we're trying to, because that was with the previous CEO, who was gonna be starting the ball on that, and then obviously things went south.
So you want $10,000 from contractors that come in this town, put a subdivision in 365 days, it's been 3 years. That's my only point.
Yeah. And then working with the state with the PRVs.
Well, you need
Working
more
by
than,
rules.
then you need more than 365 days.
Yep.
It's my, I'm not bashing, just saying.
But again, that'd go back to, the planning board, holding that further if need be.
You got a question up there, Bob?
Yeah, so it just updates, apparently. Yeah.
Say it again?
I said the 365, you work toward updating the bond at that point. You're
Yeah.
just reviewing it again.
Yeah.
Got it. Go ahead, Karen.
Under 1, general rules, 1A, is there a reason we went from a clear, defined number to a clear as mud term?
Under what, one?
Yeah, or, I mean, it said 800 feet, that's nice and clearly defined to a reasonable distance. That's not clear. Shall to may, again, we need to keep the words that are clear and stop trying to make everything so vague.
Phil, how many hydrants are there in Sebago altogether? Just ballpark.
Yeah, I'm gonna count them off my head, so give me a second. We've got Merrifield Circle, we've got, Fowler Road has 2 of them. We've got the cistern tank, that's a part of the association on Mariner Lane. We've got, Mud City, we've got Robinson Hill Road, we've got Orchard Road, we have, Chutes Dam, or Mill Pond. We've got, Nason's Brook, and Marathon, which is in the process of being redone, and Terra Lane, which is unfortunately a part of the association, which the town can't touch, which is broken, so there's 10.
So, we're talking about every house is gonna have to have a cistern or a dry hydrant?
No, this goes back to subdivisions. If you put in a large subdivision,
Okay. But a large subdivision being 3 or more.
yep,
What do you figure one of these is gonna cost?
well, it's about $50,000 to $60,000.
I don't mean to be combative, but I think it's probably a whole lot more than that. I called around the country looking for tanks today. All that kind of stuff. I think it's a great idea to have cisterns.
Yep.
I don't know that it's going to be somewhat of a poison pill for any developer, because really by the time we get there, first we gotta get it, then it has to be maintained. So there's the ongoing cost of making sure that it stays full of water. If you have a fire and pump it all out, somebody's gonna pump water back in. I have no idea what that's gonna cost you.
But that'd be put back on us to refill it. If we used it, we're gonna refill it.
Well, that makes sense.
I mean, it just makes sense.
So, it seems like an awful burden on a three-house subdivision. Doesn't seem like a bad idea, but you're gonna raise the cost of those lots by $35,000, $40,000, $50,000 a pop.
That's not a bad idea.
But if that's what we're trying to do, if this is a poison pill to drive the price of our lots up high enough so that Sebago remains a nice little rural town, that nobody can afford a lot here.
I'm not trying to drive the price up, I'm trying to make sure that we're providing the best protection
I
that the
understand
citizens
you are,
require.
but you can see that one affects the other.
Cost of roads go up. They get,
Cost of everything goes up.
right, they get built into the cost of the land, cost of the build,
Oh, sure.
same thing. And unfortunately, this town does not have rural, we have no public water supply. We have to truck it.
Right.
That's the biggest thing, is
Yeah.
trucking. And obviously, the other thing that, is driving this is, you guys remember this past year with the drought we had, 3/4 of these hydrants were out of service, because there's no water in them.
And the dry hydrants, they were dry.
Yeah.
Dry hydrants.
Phil, question?
Two questions, while Phil is up here. One is, have we looked into the individual cost for houses for sprinklers? That's the first question. And the second one is, how many of our 10 dry fire hydrants, or wet hydrants, whatever your term is, are actually working?
All of them except for 2 that I know of.
Okay. Is there a program to get those functional?
Yes,
Okay.
one of them anyway. The one on Terra Lane is part of the association, which we're not touching because that's part of the association. They're technically responsible for it.
Okay.
It's never been handed over to town.
Is the CEO aware of that?
Oh, yeah, we talked about it.
Okay. Thank you. How about sprinklers? Did you explore that? Have you explored that versus the cost of the cistern for 3 to 5 hours?
That'd be a code enforcement thing, not me.
Well,
Wasn't
no,
it
I
co-
think the research should be done before we
I think it was
jump in any specific direction.
wasn't it it was not cost effective, was it, Phil?
What's that?
I think somewhere back along, they were talking about that, and the cost for a sprinkler system, and not all wells could handle a sprinkler system.
You do it through a 300-gallon storage tank in the basement.
It's more than 300 gallons.
What's that?
It's more than 300
Well,
gallons.
it may be now, maybe it's 6,
1,000 gallons.
but you can do that with poly tanks in the basement and a booster pump.
I think my nephew paid $12,000 or $13,000
Sounds about
4 years ago, but that's
And
anecdotal.
that fits any house, anywhere.
Richard,
I didn't know that.
to your question, there is an escrow that goes, not an escrow, but they pay the town $3,000 to the hydrant reserve account for future repairs or maintenance by the town,
So who does?
That's
the
only,
developer.
but that's
So
only.
the
in
developer
case
is on
that
the
they
hook
were
for $3,000 a year?
No, it says $3,000,
One time.
But-
one time.
Just
It was 30.
That's if it's handed over to the
37.50.
town.
It's probably not enough.
How many houses would be
It's
covered?
$3,200 for the pipe, and the heads, that's 200 feet of pipe.
How many houses would be covered by a 20,000 gallon cistern?
Depends on what the fire is.
Well, I mean, how often would you require a 20,000 gallon cistern to be put in? Not for just three houses, is it for 3, 6, 8, 10, a subdivision?
Yeah, there's a thought.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a fire in one house,
Should be
right?
limited to above a certain number.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can have it, at a certain trigger point that their cistern tank is triggered.
Yeah. I guess my point is that if you put in a 3-lot subdivision and it's $60,000 for a cistern for those 3 houses, and later on that subdivision is expanded to 6 houses, let those other people, require those other people to kick in on that initial cost of that cistern, that would be a requirement for permitting those houses. So now all of a sudden, it's not $20,000 a house anymore, it's only 10, right?
But that's up to the contractor.
Well, it could be up to the
No,
ordinance.
it's up to the contractor to plant the tank, it's up to the contractor to build the custom.
But
That's
what
just
I'm
But again,
saying
that
is
goes back to the
that,
planning board seeing future down the road too.
It's just a utility agreement, yeah, subdivision.
well, I'm just saying you wouldn't require the next 3 houses to put in a 20,000 gallon cistern, we're doing the same subdivision? When it's added on?
That'd be you guys' purview.
I guess the
But we
question
would
is,
ask you, it would be,
How far is it from the system?
how many houses would one cistern serve?
Well, it all depends on the extent of the fire too.
Well, of course, I mean, you only got as much as you got,
Right,
but
but the thing about this is, as you guys know, and as you guys have seen in the news, staffing levels are getting down and down and down. And I'm trying to provide a trigger or a tool in the toolbox that allows us added time to get resources into this town. The engines that we run 1,000 gallons a minute at optimum condition. 20,000 gallon tank gives us 20 minutes. That allows us to get additional crews in, additional trucks. It buys us that time. And that's the key thing, buys us time and will prevent, not prevent, but give us the ammunition we need to keep something in check. The biggest thing in this town is we have to truck water. And it's a haul. And as you guys know, we're up hills, down hills, and it's a haul. In this past drought season, everyone knew on the department, you go to a static water source. Don't go to a dry hydrant because it's gonna be dry. So if something happened up here, we're gonna have to either go to Peabody Pond, Hancock Pond, or go all the way to Sebago Lake.
so ideally, I guess, how many houses would be the maximum for a cistern? I'm trying to figure out, how we should approach this whole thing. We talked about 3 houses with a 60,000 gallon cistern. It's like,
60, I never said 60,000 gallons.
20,000, excuse me, 20,000 gallon cistern.
Could we set the minimum higher though, before we require that to be done, maybe?
Does it matter if you have 20 houses there? I mean, one house is gonna be on fire.
Right.
So, I don't know about the 800-foot thing, but we decided on that, I guess, so, but one cistern in a 20-house development seems to be,
In that scenario, just go rule of thumb on the sketch view that came through for the 14 lot.
yep,
You want to put that somewhere right in the middle.
Even with.
right. And you would tell us that.
Yeah, I'd recommend you put that somewhere smack dab in the middle of some subdivision.
The system is only gonna be to try to contain the fire until you can get the other resources in there. Once you get the truck shoveling,
Is it,
No,
Nice done.
is it location driven? For instance, you got, I'm not saying that subdivision's gonna happen, but if it does happen, backing up and I'm discussing. Isn't there a dry hydrant right there?
Mud City.
Yeah. Well, backing up in Mud City, same difference.
That was almost out of the water this spring, or this summer.
Okay, I'm just,
Yeah.
I think
That
it was-
one, the strainer had maybe half an inch, and the problem with that is you're gonna start cavitating, you're sucking air. If you're trying to draw too much, you're basically gonna suck that thing right out.
Phil, why did you pick 800 feet?
That was in the previous ordinance, that was before my time. That's what was in the
Could you do
initial,
1,500 feet? Could you pump 1,500 feet? Do you have that much hose, or?
if it's on a nice, perfectly good grade, yes. If you got hills, no, you need a relay pumper.
well, a lot of
Okay.
should be so long and stuff.
So ideally, in a built-out town, you'd want a 20,000 gallon cistern every 800 feet or 1,500 feet in a built-out
It
town.
depends on the scenario, how things are set up, how things are laid out. There's a lot of factors that go into it, and it's, that's why we said reasonable distance, because every scenario is different. You don't want to just pinpoint it on 800 feet, because, you may be perfectly flat for 1,500 feet. You don't need something that's broken up multiple times.
That might be the view on.
So should
And like I
that,
said, I'm not, and Kurt had brought it up, and I'm not trying to hurt the contractors or anything like that, because they, you know, the cost of roads and stuff, they pass on to the person buying the lot, building the house. This is also just to provide protection for those houses that are going in, and provide a resource. I hope I never use them. But God forbid, if something happens, I want to make sure I got something there I can use. Because when the first truck rolls in, the first engine's gonna have 1,000 gallons of water on it, and that's it.
so you feel this ordinance is adequate for your needs right now?
It's a good starting point, because we have nothing right now.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm looking under exceptions. Cheap strike, ready for sale, because the way this one's worded, that's what it sounds like. And also, is there gonna be any grandfathering for existing? Is this only for new stuff, or is this for existing? Because the way it's worded.
No, this is from enacted from town meeting, just like all the other ordinances. Nothing's great, you can't retroact.
The wording is a problem for my brain, sorry.
No, and this 1,500 is, like it says, if an existing hydrant is within 1,000 feet, the fire chief may waive the requirement for a dry hydrant or cistern and have $1,500 placed in the reserve account, and that's maintenance.
Okay, but if there's an existing hydrant,
Yep,
then this wouldn't apply.
correct, again,
So
existing.
why are you needing to give an exception and extort someone for $1,500 for your,
If say
for
a
maintenance,
contractor's
if
coming
it's
into
already-
town,
If it's already there.
well, let me explain to that. Contractor's coming into town and say they're gonna use that Muncie hydrant as a resource, saying, oh, there's a hydrant there. Well, now we're gonna put another 14 houses across the street.
That's too far away, it's not within the foot that's already mentioned at the beginning. Does that make sense to you? I mean, sorry, but
No, I
you
get
have
it.
it written in front that it's gotta be within a reasonable distance.
Yep,
So in your example,
say that road's 800 feet. But they just drained 14 houses for that one hydrant.
but as long as it's within 800 feet
Right.
or a reasonable distance,
But go back to the drought we just had. That hydrant was useless.
Why is it that we don't have a hydrant on Pearly Pond on Folly Road?
You've got one at the Beaver Dam, you've got one at the river.
It just seems like it would be
Probably
such
on
an
the boat
easy.
launch, we can nose the truck right in there.
Oh, so you don't need one there.
That front suction, boom,
Oh,
done.
that makes sense, that makes sense. I didn't think about that. It just seemed like we,
And your hydrant that Kurt put in was down the road by the Beaver Dam type scenario there.
right.
And then the other one that went in was when the town redid that bridge on Folly Road. There's a hydrant right there.
Oh, is there?
Northwest River. Yep,
I didn't notice that that's a Northwest River.
yes it is. Yep.
Just making a point under general rules 1A, if you're gonna cross out that 800 feet, then you should probably cross out 800 feet on the scope as well, first page.
Are there any ponds left untapped there?
You see what I'm saying?
I'm looking at the map behind you.
Any bonds left untapped?
Well, places,
If it's
other
crossed
places where the town could put resources to add
No,
additional.
but
Or
it
putting
was
one on
struck-
PB
it was
bond, waiting
crossed
for the
out.
state, because I think already
Here,
burned by the
red.
wall.
Yeah.
And of course, the state only has one or
Right
two
here,
people
it should be
that
crossed
do that
I
now.
would think that there would be 2 or 3 different places to get on the Hangar Pond, where you would be near different classes
There's
of
one,
housing.
There's one just over the border.
it's in Denmark, but I've reached out to the landowner, at I have not heard back from him because the land is, or the previous person, the heirs have taken over the land, so I've written them a letter
Right,
to get, the town needs an easement to be able to put one in there.
right.
And that'd be the perfect spot down there, because that would cover Coach Street subdivisions, which, that's where you put the money in for, Andrew, was for that one.
Extorted?
No, no, I had asked at the land board meeting.
I'm picking on you.
Point of order.
It's easy.
I think we're good, yes.
Has this been to the attorney yet?
No. Nothing's been to the attorneys yet.
Is any of this in the attorney?
Nope.
Evidently not.
The master plan was to do this,
Before it
make
goes to the
changes,
attorney.
send to the attorney, go to the select board. That's how it normally works.
Well,
So
the
you
pattern
have
now
to-
is, we do this, we update a little bit, and we send on to the select board. And then we go to the attorney.
You guys are run out of minutes.
I hear you.
But you shouldn't bring an ordinance for a public hearing that hasn't been through the attorney yet.
I agree.
I hear you. Yep,
Okay.
okay. All right. On to the next. Nuisance alarms.
I'm still up here.
He's got
Got
a
his
big
spot.
target on his back.
Like I said, I can picture all those, I don't care. I'm an oak tree, I ain't going nowhere.
Oh, the noise ordinance,
Questions, comments?
Phil,
Yes, ma'am.
under 6, civil penalties.
Number 6?
Yep.
Yes.
I was thinking that perhaps it would be, make it clearer if it read civil penalties for nuisance alarms beyond 3 occurring within a single calendar year.
Bill, don't other communities have similar ordinances to this?
Yes.
And what most towns call for?
Anything after 3, you get billed.
It sounds reasonable to me.
I just was thinking.
Yep, it's under false alarm allowances.
Well, it says
Each alarm
4.
user shall be
False alarms.
allowed up to 3 false alarms per calendar year without penalty.
Where is, oh, up
Number
top, I'm
5.
sorry. Yep, okay. Good.
Did you get buy-in from,
Say again?
did you get buy-in from the select board on these penalties?
Did I get buy-in?
Yes.
Do I get kickback? Is that what you're saying?
As long as you're
No.
reporting.
Did you present this to them and say $500 and $1,000?
You did.
I want,
I think I remember
No,
that at
I-
a meeting.
no. I talked to neighboring towns, and this is what they use for their tentative fee schedule.
I get that. I thought we agreed, maybe it's in my mind.
They would have to set the fee schedule.
Right, so these numbers,
Stop it, Terry.
These numbers are what the surrounding towns charge. So we're in kind of the same path as those surrounding towns.
I'm not doubting the fees or anything, I'm just doubting the way this is written, not doubting, but pointing out that I don't think we should have the fees in here. It should say, and I thought we said this, to be determined by select board.
And put on the fee schedule. Bill, what's it cost to send a truck out?
For a crew.
You said that your crew, the whole
don't send
venture,
just a
what's it
truck,
cost
that
the town?
Not more than 500.
How much is
That's what I
it?
was
Well,
thinking.
it depends on the personnel that respond, depends on the truck that goes. Case in point, there's an area in town that has been a problem for years. We go there all the time for burnt food, I'm not saying what it is. There's 8 pieces of equipment that roll in that car. That doesn't say there's 8 pieces that roll every single time, but there's 8 pieces on the box.
Is that because of the place that it is?
Yes, I can't downgrade the
Yeah, I
box.
understand that.
But if you were gonna just average it out over all the calls that you get, so that we can come up with a number that is hopefully fair to everyone.
Well, again, we're not here to make money.
But we should cover a cost though.
Well, this is more to educate and fix a problem so it doesn't become a consistent problem. And we're not trying to find them we're not here to make money. We're basically here to say, hey, there's a problem, let's work together, let's fix it, so there is no more problem. And, the $500 to $1,000, it's gonna sting the first couple of times. Then they're gonna be like, hey, we're gonna fix this, we don't want this bill no more.
It's encouragement.
Correct.
How long is that truck on the capital improvement plan? 20 years?
The engines, yes, 20 years.
20 years.
25.
And this one was what, 740,000?
709.
All right, so at
That was 2 years
740,
ago.
$37,000 a year. I don't know how many runs we do a year.
Last year, we had 359 calls.
The numbers gotta get scary, Dan.
Actually went down. The year before that
Well,
was
actually-
449.
It's $100 for, just for the cost of the engine itself over 20 years per run.
Right.
So that seems not like a lot, but
But the point is to make it hurt enough so that you're
Yes.
gonna pay attention and try to fix the problem. If they really got a fire, obviously, we're going out anyway.
Correct.
Is that times 7?
If you have nothing, you have no deterrent.
I have no teeth.
I understood.
That's the thing. I just want Keith to be able to say, hey, we got a problem, let's fix it. I'm not here to hurt you, but I've got nothing, I have nothing to say.
We have ways to fix it, let me help you do that.
This gives me ways to, this
Right.
gives me to say, hey, we got a problem, let's sit down and come to an understanding and let's fix this problem.
That's right.
Under 8.2B, it says failure to complete required corrective action may result in additional enforcement action. Should that be further identified? What would be the what would be the additional enforcement action?
Spanking.
I think that should be better identified. That's all.
Well, it depends on, I guess, the location. You know, people that have like the Simply Safe or ADT or whatever those are monitored systems, so it can be,
It's just nebulous, that's all, you know what I mean?
I kind of see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, it should be kind of identified what's gonna happen.
another $1,000.
Also on that, we discussed that, it's the teacher in me coming out. If you have a B, you gotta have an A to have a B. So we
Right.
decided to make that B number 3.
Yeah,
So it was, 3 was failure to comply, to complete the required.
So, again, this is a fee that people are paying. And I just think it would be best if we just said, to be determined by select board, 500 recommended. I don't think that's too drastic a change
You're
in this
just gonna
particular.
make us the bad guys, huh? Let's just put it in the code.
No, it's actually our job
Be
to
changed every
establish
year.
fees.
What's that?
It is our job to establish fees.
Yeah,
Select
so can we do that? Well,
Sure.
stretch the 500? and
I don't see why not.
I don't think it's, does everybody agree with that?
No?
Yes.
Well, it's just in
Oh,
parallel
Richard.
with all of the fees.
We would
Then
think
you,
it's something
then you
to
have the
follow.
chance to say you don't wanna do that.
Karen, go ahead.
So I have a question on front page, statutory authority. It says the general police powers of the town. We have policing powers in town? Pretty sure we pay a huge chunk to Cumberland County to police our town.
where are you looking at?
Right on the first page, number 2, statutory authority.
Yep.
The general police powers of the town. Do we have that? Is that in existence?
I have the authority, having jurisdiction, yes, as the chief.
So that should be changed to the fire chief, because are you not the only person in town that has that power other than the Cumberland County Sheriff?
Code enforcement has authority, having jurisdiction as well.
So can we just clarify that?
Well, this,
This is using the word police as a
Let's make
verb.
Christine do it.
yeah,
It's using the word police as a verb, not as a
Correct.
noun.
That's right.
you should say policing.
Policing, thank you.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'll leave the rest alone.
Right? If you're gonna leave it in there.
No,
I like the idea of having a fee, and I'll tell you why. It gives him, it gives the fire chief definite, hey, oh, we're gonna fine you, oh, we'll see how much. We're gonna go back to this, wait, and find out. This is more
It can
straightforward.
say per,
It gets posted.
per recommendation by the board.
I mean, the people have a choice of paying the fine and forgetting it,
Or fixing the problem.
or fixing the problem, but it gives him some teeth to enforce this.
Start getting up around $1,000, it becomes.
Well, if they're stupid enough to keep paying for it, good. You get another fire hydrant.
That's a
I
pretty
think
good
this is fine.
That's what you should
I think it should be left in the way it is.
Then it will require an ordinance change to change the fee.
Why?
Yes, it would.
How?
Because it's an ordinance
Yes, it
that
would.
you're passing.
You're right, David.
So this
Say it
gives,
again, please.
if we have this dollar amount in this proposed ordinance,
Yes.
it will take an ordinance change to change that.
Any
yeah.
town meeting.
Yep.
That's true.
What do we have to do for an ordinance change?
Well, that's correct. He's 100% correct.
That's true.
And that takes a town meeting.
Oh,
So-
yeah, but
That takes a town meeting, takes a public hearing, takes, so
I'm not saying
I'm
we want a
assuming
blank there forever.
This-
that the select board will be reasonable and listen to Chief Strike and say every other town in the neighborhood, in the area is charging this amount, let's set that fee.
Okay, is this this ordinance, has it been accepted yet?
No,
No, so it's not an ordinance yet.
that's what's
This is
proposed.
that,
I
it says
know, Tina.
proposed ordinance.
I know,
TBA, to be
but
determined.
yeah, but if it does get accepted
Just put,
as written,
determined by select board.
it will take another
On our
ordinance
schedule, the
to
fees
change
will-
those dollar amounts.
Which takes a
You
year
need,
to go.
you need the number. But
So this
you need
ordinance will cost you double.
Mechanism that can be changed at your will.
So if you leave it to the select board, they review ordinances at any time, and they can change this amount at any time.
Yeah, that's fine. That's the way we do it on the.
So it takes the power, the control out of Phil's hands and puts it, so he's stuck.
So, instead of having a dollar amount, we just say, to be determined by the select board.
End of story. Is done.
They set the fee schedule, correct?
We do that for everything else.
So then I can come to the select board and say, hey, we're not charging enough, up the fees.
We can change it at any time without a town meeting.
If you just go on
Okay, then
the
let's do it that way.
fee, just go on the fee schedule list, right? You would just go on that list of fee schedules, most changed by the select board.
It's the mechanism.
Guys,
You were good with
I know
that
it's been a
last
long
meeting.
night, so I don't want to be here too much longer. I want to keep on track, so.
Any other
Number
comments?
6, we
What's the wording
change
that you want?
the 4 and 5 to be determined by the select board, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
How about it be annually reviewed? That way.
By the select board.
Well, the select board reviews fees annually.
Right.
It's supposed to.
Yeah, just to make it so it's not so formal and it can just get done.
Well,
You guys
So
look
you're
at
gonna,
the,
you're on the.
Richard, if I can interject real
just use the
quick.
procedure that's already in place. Select board set the fees for everything else. And if they set the fees for this, and he has a problem develops on that fee structure, we can change it as policy at will with the select board.
Yeah.
There you think.
I was just
No
gonna say,
meeting, no town meeting,
Yeah.
just
Make it
gets
easy.
fixed.
See, it's not too.
because if something else with the fee schedule changes on your part, someone can approach you and say, hey, and then you guys can fix it at a normal meeting.
Good.
So and the fees ought to be on an annual review anyway, because I hate to say it, the cost of fuel is going up, so I can imagine our tipping fees are gonna go through the roof.
Phil, you would know the fee anyway from the
Yes,
select.
and this is, just to go back on that, this is what Naples charges, area towns charge, but like I said, the biggest reason I wanna have this is now I've got some teeth. Because right
So
now,
why
I've got-
wouldn't it just say civil penalties for nuisance alarms occurring within a single calendar year shall be assessed as noted in the fee schedule?
Yes.
As noted in the town fee schedule.
Another way of saying it.
Done.
Yep.
I still wanna have a 4th and 5th in regards to that fee schedule, so.
I think $1,000 a crack will get their attention here quick. If it doesn't,
Okay, any additional comments?
One comment.
Yes.
On
You
this,
might want to add a clause to your effectiveness and put it in the ordinance that over a certain number of violations may result in the forfeiture of the license
license in regards to what?
for the facility to operate. That gives you some real teeth.
that's a lot
Well,
of case.
that goes to the fire marshal.
That would go to.
No, that's a local decision.
No, that, unfortunately, that's falls on the state fire
Because
marshal
it's a
purview.
private. Whatever, just trying to help.
Because that's a state funded institute, so that's, the fire marshal has ultimate jurisdiction on that.
Well, maybe that would be done under that 8 corrective action 2B, failure to complete required corrective action may result in additional enforcement action by forwarding it to the fire marshal.
Well,
Maybe that's what that would be.
I can't single out said entity though, because it could be a house that I'm going to all the time, and the fire marshal has no authority on that.
It just seems like that should be clarified, so.
Right. Because we could be going to, well, we used to go to a place on Madison Road all the time for an alarm, which has been fixed.
It's a house, a private home.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Time to wrap this up. Any other input?
Just one thing. You guys remember the clocks have been turned back, or we sprung ahead, just make sure you check your batteries and your smoke detectors. And then if they're over 10 years old, please throw them out and get new ones. Thank you.
PSA.
Thank you.
Public service announcement.
Right.
Send me the mayor.
Thank you.
Also get your permits, they're free online. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're gonna close the hearing at 8:57.
So there's no other items?
7:57. Feels like 8.
Are there no other items?
That's it. And we're going to open our planning board meeting, and after a short break. Let's come back at about 7 or 8 minutes.
If we're back to order, can I say something?
No, we can start our meeting.
On behalf of the people of Sebago, I want to apologize for what happened. Although I don't represent them, I'm sorry. That seemed like a real personal attack. And that was not appropriate, so,
Thanks, I appreciate it.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, wow. Let's do our meeting thing. So let's call it to order at 8:08. And let's do a roll call real quick. Paul?
Present.
Yeah. Tina? Here. David?
Here.
Mouse?
Yeah.
And I'm here as well. This is a very short agenda we have, which is really just to talk about recommendations on the ordinances and likes. Let's do a pledge of allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody left.
We warm up. Gosh. All right. So we have to figure out essentially what we can move forward with, or what needs additional work, based on what we heard. We certainly got a bunch of feedback, that's for sure. Good grief. So I think let's just go through what we have and see if we are close enough to move forward with it or not to the select board. And I think some may go forward and others may not at this point in time.
Wouldn't our next step be
Go ahead.
to go to get these approved by an attorney.
Only the ones that you want to move forward.
Yep.
And then they go to the select board after.
I would love to do that, actually.
The simplest ones would be the fire chief's ones first, right?
Yep.
I think those could probably go forward with the minor corrections we made tonight.
Yep.
But what was the other one you had there? You kind of listed out.
Where's my little list here? There it is.
These probably can go forward.
Yeah, the fire hydrant and nuisance.
Road standards, I seem to,
I think,
well, the road standards, we need to decide. I'd prefer to leave some flexibility in the thing. I get some faith that we'll work out
yeah.
some minor projects. I don't think there's anybody inclined to make major waivers of issues like, access, allowing people to fill swampland and stuff. I don't see that would happen, so I think you gotta leave some flexibility in there.
Yep.
And as to the other one, I think we're in agreement that the planning board should review commercial projects that come before us. Isn't that we don't think you're capable, you certainly are, but I think politically in this town, it might make sense to do that.
So, a question of you guys, I guess, all of you, in terms of what we can move forward or not. How much physical change can we make before we have to go back to another hearing? We certainly want to do the legal piece first. Before it goes back to another hearing.
So you're gonna have another hearing? You're not gonna have enough time. You need to either move it forward with the amendments and the legal review tonight to be recommended to the select board to include on the warrant, and then they can have their own public hearing.
Yep.
Or you don't do it at all.
How much of an amendment can we make? That's my question.
I think any of the changes that were discussed tonight, whether the board decides to incorporate them into this, none of them to me flag anything that would trigger a significant enough review that we need to hold another public hearing. I think it's a matter of changing a couple words or removing a sentence or maybe clarifying, but it's not a significant, substantial change to a section of the ordinance or adding in a new section or anything like that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, we agreed we'd stick with the changes proposed to the schedule of uses as concerns asphalt and concrete plants.
Yeah. Well, why don't we just, let's quickly go through the 5 of them.
Okay.
And maybe in the same order we did them in the meeting and see what words came out of that we need to shift, so we're clear about that. And then, so we'll take out what needs to come out and put in what we need to put in, and we'll go from there. So let's talk about the road standards first. And Garrett, you'll take notes on what those changes will be.
Which one did you say we were talking about?
Road standards.
Road, yeah.
I'm following the same list we went through.
Okay.
What stage is that? 5?
So where do we start with this? Where do we start? Let's see here.
I think we should accept it as, or propose it to the board as is. I do believe that we should leave the language that allows flexibility in the thing.
I think the major piece, where do we want to start? Where's the first page? Where we all-
So I guess there's a couple, they're very minor changes technically under the roadway design standards on page 4-9.
Thank you.
That's where our backlot provision is, and we're changing that from dwelling units to residential lots.
Yep.
And then also adding in a sentence there for the design criteria, just making a point of reference within the ordinances to what that is.
Okay.
I don't think there's any comments tonight on that specific proposed change.
Garrett, you got that? Okay. Keep going.
Okay, next would be on page 5-21. I think there was a typo under backlot driveways. That last, or second to last line there originates from a road construed in accordance. I believe that should read constructed in accordance with the roadway design standards. So that would technically be an alteration to the changes that we're proposing.
Okay, tell me one more time where you are.
Yep, page 5-21.
Yeah. Okay.
On number 4A for
I see
backlot
it.
driveways,
Okay.
that last sentence there.
Construction, okay. Got it.
Can you, I'm gonna need a moment.
Yep, all good.
Let me read yours.
It's the word they used was construed, it should be constructed.
Construction.
Somebody writing this?
Yep.
Again, I don't think there's any public comments, or does the board want any other changes to this specific page or section?
Okay.
About that thing down here that's supposed to be the double box.
Yep. I'm up
Yep,
there.
we're getting there in a
Next
second.
page.
Oh,
So,
sorry.
yep, so then on page 5-23, there would be a couple very minor, more clarifying housekeeping items. So there would be a number 14 added, and the language for number 14 would be equal to subnote number 3 on the next page.
Yep.
Since we don't actually reference number 3 within that table, it's worth making that its own standalone section. So we'd shift that there. And then the very bottom right portion of the table, where that box is blank, that line separating it to the one adjacent to it to the left shouldn't be there. That standard would apply to both minor streets and collector streets.
Okay.
And then I think where maybe it's worth a little bit of discussion with the board, if they want this change or not, there was discussion tonight on the next page, 5-24, about the waivers for roadway design standards. And I think in particular, that last letter D, appropriate conditions are applied.
I think it fits. I think the select board members who couldn't come tonight said they favored a more flexible approach. And others didn't necessarily object to it.
So what are you saying, Paul? We should
Well,
leave it as it is?
Richard seemed to favor the more flexible approach,
Yeah.
and Phil did not seem to
Right.
object. That's what I would say.
So what are you saying, to leave it as it is?
I would say leave it as it is and put it in front of them, and if they want to keep it, they can. If they change their minds, they can. If the other 3 members of the board feel differently, they can.
Okay.
You guys okay with that?
Oops, just one more thing.
And then the only other
We
thing.
didn't hear any good alternatives to doing much with that.
If you read it through though, and it kind of follows, if you just read it on its own, appropriate conditions are applied, that maybe doesn't make sense, but if you read down through, yeah, we can do a waiver, but appropriate, I think appropriate, it means everything and anything, but appropriate is voted on by the board, and that's it, what they think.
I do fear if it were removed, then it would not grant the board the ability to place conditions.
Yeah, you want, it's all about, we're gonna give you a waiver, but it's not an unlimited waiver, there's gonna be conditions on it. And I'm not inclined personally to give on any unlimited sort of waivers, but minor and reasonable ones I'm inclined to allow.
Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, and then, sorry.
Got a question?
Could it say, that gives us waivers to do anything? Could we say,
Well, it's limited to road construction standards, not anything.
right, but can we say that something is the intent to keep this roadway as close to road standards as possible?
Well, I think what they're saying is, on number C, is the granting of, would not have the effect of amending the ordinance requirements. In other words, we're not gonna create an exception, we're not gonna change the ordinance, we're just gonna articulate a reason grant a waiver and conditions that apply. So in other words, it seems to be, saying directly that we can't just vote away the requirements. We have to articulate a reason for a waiver.
What if we said upon a finding that no other reasonable?
So I think the language is, I believe in more general languages than when you're in this specific situation, when you have some hard standards, and then you allow some, if we can articulate a waiver and it fits and we apply appropriate conditions, I think it works.
Can you define requisite on B? Can you tell me what that means?
The application of the standards.
In other words, if you apply the standards, I mean, if you grant a waiver, it doesn't, you can't grant a waiver that would negatively affect public health, safety, and welfare. That's pretty, that's what I get out of that anyway.
Did you look that up, what requisite is, Christina?
Yes, I did. It says, means necessary, required, or indispensable for a particular purpose or position. An example might be the requisite skills. That's used as an
Is
adjective.
that a well way to put it?
Why did you pick that word?
It's pretty, again, it's fancy kind of legalese, but I mean, we could shift it again to adversely impacted, things of that nature.
Does not adversely impact public health.
Right. The application of the standards would not adversely impact public health, safety, and general welfare.
Yeah. Just a little awkward way of saying it.
Can we change it to say?
You got that, Gary?
Not,
Does not adversely affect.
does not.
Okay, let's keep going.
Okay. And then the other items in relation to roadway design standards, there's a small reference back in our subdivision ordinance that references when granting waivers for roadway design standards. It just makes reference back to this section and more of a clerical housekeeping item. But then the other larger proposed amendments would be just the definitions for minor street, backlot driveway, things of that nature.
So by that you mean they're fine the way they are, is that where you're coming from? Do we have some minor?
I guess I would let the board make that decision,
Yeah,
but I
okay,
guess
yeah,
tonight
yeah.
we did not hear any public
Okay.
comment
All right.
related to those items.
Okay, so what page will we be on? What's the next page you will be on?
For, like, moving on to the next item?
Yes.
Or, okay, so the next
Is there
item.
another piece to the waves part, to this portion?
For the waiver.
Oh,
to the waivers?
referencing the waiver section?
Yeah.
1 second here.
Or was that the end of that section?
I think there was another. Right here.
think there was one more.
So it's 8-11 maybe?
Yep.
811?
Yep, 8-11 on F, number 2. We do briefly discuss in which waivers are requested, but specifically for roadway design standards and sending them back again to this section of the ordinance.
Have we're 8-11, you said? All right, 8-11.
811.
8-11. Thank you.
And what was the suggested change there? Was the one or not?
No suggestions.
That's fine, okay. Keep on then.
Okay. On to
Yep.
the concrete
Next
asphalt
topic.
paving.
Okay, next one is the concrete.
Did we cover 6-3?
Let me pull it up here. I think 6-3 is for the staff level review, correct?
Yeah, that's different. Yep.
We'll get to that in a
So
second.
get to that later, all right.
So for the concrete, asphalt, cement,
Yep.
again, we have it within the schedule of uses. We have the definitions for it, and then the performance standard for the 1,500-foot setback separation between
Yep.
residentially zoned properties.
Yep.
That's not to say that they couldn't do that up with the quarry was gonna be. Yeah,
Yep.
people were talking about where would you do it, you wouldn't be able to do it, but you could do it there. That's the village district, right?
What page are you looking at, David?
5-29.
For the performance standard for the 1,500-foot separation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
They meet that standard there, I think.
Yeah. Again, and I would refer back to some of the conversations that we had had before about which district might be most appropriate. I know just from
Yeah, I know, we talked about that.
private consulting, like other line of work, quarries are generally considered more rural in nature because you don't find them in a downtown urban setting or a village setting, things of that nature.
Right.
But I guess it falls again back on the nomenclature of how we're calling it a village district,
Yeah.
whether it's a true village district or not.
Yeah.
I think the important piece is that performance standard there for that 1,500-foot separation requirement.
Do we want to lower, it seemed to me that when
we don't
temporary, by controlling the length of time they can operate it is an effective way of controlling.
Yeah, that I
how
like.
long.
There was more, a positiveness around that, whether it's 6 months or a year
Yeah.
or.
Oh, for
some
incorporating
boundary.
timing.
Yeah, the boundary, yeah.
Yeah, that would not be a substantial change in my opinion to add, whether it's, I don't know, again, it's worth
Depend
more
on the project.
determination, but
But
whether it's
what
120
actually
days or.
As a practical matter, what might happen in the town is that they might go to rebuild 114.
Right.
And allowing whoever to have a temporary asphalt plant like in Shaw's Pit
Yeah.
probably would make sense if we limited it, not much in distance, but we limited in time.
Right.
In other words, you have 6 months and then you gotta remove it. That way it would,
So you would
Or you have to reapply
set that
in
during
6
the
months.
process of review and then
I'd
come back here to.
I'd still have some wording in there though that related to it being job specific, because, you know, if you
Limited
said
to a
180
project,
days, it's like,
yeah.
how many jobs can you do in 180 days? I mean, you can move all over the place, you know?
Oh, I see, yeah.
But we have, is this for a permanent you're talking, or a temporary? So
Temporary.
in the definition of a temporary paving plant,
Yeah, we could put it in the definition.
it says for a targeted project,
Okay.
not projects.
Mhm.
So if somebody comes to us, and the way I read that
Yep.
is somebody wants to put in a temporary plant, they've got a particular project that they're working on,
Yep.
and once that project is done,
They move on.
Can we
They-
say no greater than like 180 days in that definition so that we put a limit on what they can ask for at the review? And, I mean, you can.
You could, or the planning board could put conditions
It
on
says,
that approval
yeah, it
as
says
well.
close to a targeted site, which,
well, as a practical matter, if they want to put up a temporary one, do they come to us? Or do they go to her and seek a temporary permit?
Planning board.
It says planning.
I
board.
would say that's us, because it impacts so many people. Yeah.
So
Right,
we
but if I-
could place conditions in terms of distance and time on, and limit, all right.
Christina, what?
Well, I mean, it gives you guys, if there is a time limit that that you guys have to approve them up to, then to make it temporary, that would be nice.
But the time would be,
Like, say you can only, I mean, if they tell you guys 6 months, I go after them after the 6 months to get a renewal.
yeah,
But you guys can only approve a temporary for up to 180 days, and after that's not considered temporary. I don't know, I'm just looking at it, how is this
Well, no,
gonna
that's
be
right.
handled?
how's it gonna be enforced?
Yeah,
Well, you get it, if they came before us seeking a temporary permit, we could grant one, but we could also
He's
put
reviewing
conditions
6
on
months.
distances. We could put conditions on
You put-
time,
you put a
hours of
daily-
operation, that sort of thing.
you put a daily fine on them going over that time limit.
Or
You can do
they,
that as
or
a
they
condition,
simply have to
maybe.
come back
for
in front of the planning board
Yeah.
to go further.
doing new.
I like the time things.
Yeah.
There's a practical matter, like I said, within at least 20 miles and maybe less of where we're sitting,
Yeah.
there are batch plants for both asphalt and cement, so who's, I don't know the specific economics of the thing, but it would seem to me you're not setting up a temporary plant with all the costs when all you really are doing is hauling another 10 or 12 miles. That's a practical thing.
Okay.
It seems like if you had 180 days, so you could do that every year for 180 days, right, 6 months, and that's pretty much the season.
You'd have to come in and get a permit for every project, and we could
Just leave
reject it
the
on
thing
the
set up
grounds
there.
that they're.
Just want to give them a
Project has gotta be
reasonable
done.
time to
But,
complete.
but if,
Yeah,
if,
I don't know.
if it's adverse to the welfare,
Of the community.
safety, and what happiness of the community,
Yeah.
is paving a road in Baldwin really Sebago's responsibility to give them an asphalt plan? If it,
Well, I mean, you could say you can't renew it more than like twice or something, right? I mean, we're adding more to this. It's getting
Well, what are
pretty
we
deep.
looking at when you look at a temporary asphalt plan? I mean, give me a picture in my head.
Isn't it like a portable?
It's a big mix.
No, I know what it is.
Asphalt.
But what kind of, like, I'm looking at a filling
Asphalt.
Got a big
station.
conveyor belt on it?
Asphalt is basically gravel
Well, I know
mixed
what-
with top.
But I know, but what kind of a project? I'm looking at a
something 20
temporary
feet
thing.
high, probably 60 feet long or something.
Like, I'm looking at a parking lot for a garage.
No.
That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking for a temporary, for a project that the temporary asphalt place would be here. So I'm looking at a
Take a pretty good,
garage.
it would take a pretty good chunk of space
If-
to
if
put
the-
all the equipment together, to get the trucks in and out and all that kind of stuff.
But what type of project are we looking at to need a temporary asphalt plant being here?
Well, if they were to do 114, and they were to set up in that gravel pit,
So it's a
they'd
road.
have it right there.
So we're talking about just a road, when we're talking about a
Well, if they were
temporary.
to do 114, it would be a pretty good project. It
If
would
the state's
require-
gonna do 114, there's nothing we're gonna say that they, to
But
tell them they can't
say
do
the
it.
state wants to do 114, and they
Yeah.
hire Shaw to do it.
Yeah,
Shaw
Has to come to us.
has to get a permit from us, and then I don't know if it'd really be feasible, but if they just wanted to have the asphalt, I mean, literally right there, they can set up a temporary plant and have it right there.
If the price of fuel keeps going up, that would be very tempting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
But basically, you take gravel, you mix it with hot tar, and then you press it into shape.
and they run it on the
that's
big
asphalt.
trucks, and look when they did retard 114. They did that all the way to Bridgeton.
Yeah, so the chances of them actually setting up a temporary one
It's zip.
aren't that great.
No, it isn't.
So the two things I heard is, for a specific project, and a max of 180 days. Then it
So,
needs
so the
review.
definition, again, is in the,
Yep,
I mean, the targeted project aspect is in the definition,
Yep.
that's what it's used for. Anything else would not be consistent with our ordinance,
Yep.
I would assume.
yep,
But just add the 180 days.
Yep.
Yeah, it says close to a targeted construction site.
Yeah. So we put it right in the definition, that matter.
Yeah, it's in the definition.
Yeah. Well, it's in several actually, so it would go in the ones affected, yeah, on the temporary plants.
It's for producing small batches of mix close to a targeted construction site.
Yeah.
So if it's development, it's the place development wanted to put in tar, that's when you would bring in a temporary site, right?
No, because that's too small, they
Yeah.
just truck that in.
Yeah. It's more like doing a
We're
road,
talking
highways.
a week, 2 weeks worth of work, you know, that they would be there doing that.
Okay.
Okay.
My mind was
Close enough.
totally off base, and what I saw was
And
temporary.
it's more, I think some of this is more designed for like places up, you know, up in the townships or something where they would would make a lot of sense to them to not chip it 50, 60 miles, but actually have it on site, whereas around here, there probably is no economics that makes it worthwhile to have a special plant set up. Because there's a huge asphalt concrete thing right down there in Gorham.
I think we got it, right?
Yeah.
So add
180 days.
to where? To the,
To strict, I put it to the definition.
529?
I put it to the definitions, actually. of the
To
temp-
the asphalt paving plant temporary
Yep.
and the concrete plant temporary definitions.
Yep. And
I
at
think would be the
180
most
days.
appropriate way to.
Yeah.
categorize that.
529.
Targeted word is there, so that already clarifies
Which operate less than 180 days.
Yep,
or
Yeah.
something.
that's great.
Yeah, okay. And definition.
Operate less than 180 days of the calendar year or just period?
From the
I
day
would
that's
say-
issued.
Yeah, I would say calendar days
Calendar, 'cause
upon
that's-
issuance or whatever. I know if we don't specify calendar days, sometimes people will try to argue working days or.
Well, we only used it 90 days, we're gonna come back and use it the other 90 days, yeah.
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 Okay.
So, okay.
Is that it for those guys? Yeah.
It is for the asphalt, cement, concrete.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and on to, yep, the staff level review. The most challenged there.
What page is that?
6-3.
6-3.
6-3, I think it is, correct?
6.3 and 7.2.
Yep.
Okay, and we're gonna correct, we've gotta go back to 6-1 too. The code enforcement officer / planner
Yes, that's right. Is that
on
6-1?
6-3.
So on 6.3, the change would look like, at least for the code enforcement officer piece, it would read as staff level review by the code enforcement officer or their assigned designee, so long as in any 2-year period. So we'd remove the town planner piece there.
So, I'm sorry, but where exactly are you?
On page 6-3,
Yeah,
on G,
yeah,
a site.
Okay,
So,
I got
yeah,
it.
we're essentially removing the words and town planner,
Yep.
replacing with or their assigned designee.
I got it, yep, I see it.
I know there was discussion as well about the commercial component of that as well. I think one of the easiest ways to, I think, mitigate that would be removing bullet point number 1. Is that really is what that is meant for, is that commercial or non-residential floor area? So
Okay.
if we struck that out,
Yep.
again, it would fall back on the 2,500 square feet of impervious surface area. instead.
And we were gonna put a statement in there about commercial. So we've really taken that out by I see what you're getting at. Okay, got it.
Correct, yeah, instead of adding, I think, another couple sentences or paragraphs and kind of defining what that might be and what that might look like and examples and things like that, if we remove that, I think that takes out the ambiguity there.
Yeah. So that puts the schedule of uses back. Yep.
So just removing that first one, you said?
Removing number 1, and that would also impact on page 7-2, where I think these numbers are just listed out in paragraph form, so to remove that within that section as well.
Because then you're not affecting the commercial, industrial, and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
It's in the schedule of uses, yeah.
So what did you do with the town planner, code enforcement and town planner?
Just, I think it was just slashed.
Yeah.
Crossing out and town planner, replacing with or their assigned designee.
Assigned designee.
Then we're removing number 1.
Yep.
What page are we on to remove number 1?
6-3.
Okay. No, okay.
We're talking about less than 2,500 square feet of impervious surface area. You're talking about pavement, parking lots, is that what that is?
Could be
Fertile ground.
patios, decks, driveways, little parking areas.
Gardens. No, those are the other way.
Yeah,
That's right.
dumpster pads,
Not
or,
gardens.
things like
If they
that.
want a 2,500 foot building though, commercial building, it will come before the board.
Yeah.
That's basically what the agreement was.
Yeah.
Right, so that comes out, that remains for parking lots. All right.
Am I right? That is the way it's gonna be, right?
Correct, yeah, if it's falling under planning board designation in our schedule of uses, correct.
In the South Level
I see
Review
it more
line,
as this way, in a larger town, it might be something that the people wanted just to allow a CEO to do. Because I think in this town, anything, because it's commercial, people are gonna be more sensitive to it. I think it's probably better it goes. You know, they can blame us for not changing it that way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, in accordance with this.
We
Should,
insurance.
So we have to change
You gotta do
this.
something too.
should we in G,
Yeah, so,
put something like, that specifies specifically non-commercial in the line itself? So a site plan application that is deemed of staff level review by the code enforcement officer / town planner.
right, we have to make that match.
Yeah, right.
We can, I guess my initial thought is if there was a commercial entity in town that wanted to do a small, couple hundred square feet parking expansion, or they needed to add a couple spaces in
Yeah.
case there was a change of use on site or something like that. Is that small change something that the board would want to spend their time reviewing on, things of that
Yeah.
kind, so.
Well, that's why, Brett, I read that portion that I read. It would give the planning board just a purview of what was taking place there. Then we could say, no, let the CEO handle it, you know? I mean, and how you go about that, I don't know, but it's whether you'd have to wait for a meeting or whether it could just go through Bob. But
Just be a straightforward site plan review of a commercial building. If they would come before us.
Yep, and that would do that by doing what he said, scratch one, right?
Wait,
Okay, that's
so
fine.
It's essentially
we
going
come here for like a pre-application and they would decide that? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, so come as a pre-application.
Oh, yeah, there you go,
meeting,
sure,
And then you
sure.
guys, if you choose to go that
Yeah,
way.
Yep.
and so it's still up to you as to whether or not you want the planning board to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay,
I'm fine with that.
you good? You all set?
Can we look on page 6.1? There's a definition of town planner in there.
Well, that's kind of,
Not getting,
we haven't reviewed that at all with anybody.
We shouldn't be passing it through, should we?
Well, it's still there, yeah. Let's see, yeah, what do we got? What are you getting at?
are we on
I'm
7?
getting at, town planner is removed. We don't have a town, we have a planner. She is the town planner, CEO, planner, / planner.
No, the number
Brett
one
is
covers the
the
CEO,
contract
number
planner.
2 covers the planner portion of it, so.
So we have to make a distinction here.
I would say no, if she's a CEO planner, she's covered by both number 1 and number 2. And that's,
What does town planner mean to be people in this town?
well, she does both the CEO work and will
Well,
do
it's in
some planning.
it's in the description in our ordinances.
Okay.
Who's got a book?
All right. If he's back to bite us, let's try.
Okay.
Do we can't put anything in like the contract planner then, right?
We don't, I don't.
Well,
Well, you
planner
don't-
would be
you
a
don't-
planner, whether it was an employee or a contractor, would still be a planner.
I think my,
I don't understand
my duties would fall under that or assigned designee through that
Okay,
separate
all
third-party
right.
contract with
Okay.
Christine. She's my boss.
On the bottom.
It's the boss.
I think the two roles
Okay.
separate is still fine, just in terms of what the roles are. It's just that
This is,
a lot of that.
eliminating number 1 entirely, and we're just doing 2, 3.
Okay.
So 2 will become 1.
we're good? All right, on we go.
So it's any project involved.
On 7.2, we're gonna admit that last paragraph under C. If an applicant,
7.2,
the last paragraph under C, classification of project,
Well, that's just the impervious.
oh, down here, yes.
that's limiting, right?
Garrett,
I thought we-
7.2, the last paragraph before administration, on the bottom.
Can we go back to that 6.3 again, just for a second?
Yep.
So number 2, any projects involving the installation of less than 2,500 square feet of impervious surface area.
That's a backlot driveway.
What's that?
That's a backlot driveway.
Should we,
This would have created
How do we
a
know that?
minor and major
Most of the time,
commercial
they're not,
projects.
sorry.
Yeah, but it doesn't say backlot.
No, but most of the time, they don't exceed that, the 2,500.
So, yeah, I mean, well, we have backlot driveways covered separately under number 3,
Yeah.
what is to become number 2, and also number 4 technically. But again, I mean, I brought up the example earlier, if there was, whether it was, let's say it's a commercial entity that's proposing a small, whether addition or parking expansion, things like that. Personally, I might like look at that and say, well, that might classify as staff level.
should number 2 say involving, on any projects involving backlot driveways, should that be repeated there after impervious surface area? Just to make it clear? Or no?
So it only applies to backlot driveways and excludes any other smaller types of projects?
The idea, I think, was to create, give the CEO, et cetera, ability to deal with minor commercial projects. But I think after our discussion, we've shown a favoritism that will look at all commercial projects. So that's more for political than practical reasons.
Well, I thought that we were bringing the stuff to the planning board
Yeah,
for
that's what you're
pre-application
doing.
meeting anyway.
Yeah.
So then you would have the opportunity to decide if you wanted to
Okay,
review that.
okay.
Okay. But that's you. The next, whoever takes over, heaven forbid after you're gone, could look at it a different way if it's not spelled out very distinctively, right? I know. Am I wrong there?
It's
minutes,
almost like
3 hours
reading
more.
about the septic system.
I know.
Seriously.
Okay. All right.
Well, okay, all right. All right.
So what was your suggestion?
Well, we were gonna bring all of these staff level reviews to the planning
Right,
board
okay, thank you.
for
For
pre-application.
pre-application. Yep.
Yeah,
That works. In front of us.
Are you sure?
I mean, if it doesn't work, we'll just change it later, right? That's all.
Okay.
did you see what I meant about it being repeated?
For number 3 and 4.
Under 3,
What page you on?
7.3, under planning board completeness of application determination.
Oh, yes, yeah, I did.
There's
have that one.
if you go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences and start reading,
Yeah, there was a duplicate.
if you haven't found it, you'll find it there that it repeats itself.
Yeah.
What page you on, Tina?
7.3,
This is a completeness of application determination.
Yeah, it just repeats the sentence. Then you need to decide whether you want to have it 14 or 10 calendar days again.
Yeah, I'd have to look back. I think the documents, Garrett, you had sent me, had the legal comments or revisions kind of marked up in a different way, so I'd have to refer back to what was on those documents. just
I
make sure
do
it's
remember
captured.
in those previous approved ordinances, there was a
There was a
duplication.
Yeah,
That just kind of slipped through.
I think that's what it was,
In fact, we announced that to the town, I think, when we voted on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I
can't
can-
take it out?
Yeah, we were.
That it was-
Well, you know what, we had a change to this.
Yes, we did.
And we revamped this whole thing. There were like 8 of us that agreed on it, but it got, I don't know, Bob, can we resurrect that? It's
It was
too late.
convoluted. I probably have some.
The idea of what we tried to do, I think we did change the number of days also. but we also tried
Yes, we did change the days.
put better descriptions on public notices instead of map 2, lot 67A. It would give an address and a brief description of the project.
See, that would make more sense to other people.
Well, that's what we tried to do, but
Yeah.
On site,
select board
I
didn't want to
don't
hear it.
think, I don't think we documented anything. I have nothing on, this is the package from the town meeting.
That's what I think it's trying to say, is, I mean, you get 2 bites at the apple, you get notice of the first meeting, and then you get a notice of the final one.
Yeah.
And that was to address the issue of people not finding out
That's
about
right.
the project.
That's right.
Right.
So it was 2 rounds of it.
2 rounds of it, yes, but again, the type of notification that was sent or posted was a little bit more informative to the people. Because to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure what map I'm on. You know?
I see.
I don't know which one I'm on.
Yeah, so that was the intent of it. If we could find that, it's too late now.
Yeah.
Like, it's too late now. But if we make these simple changes you want, I think that would be,
Yeah, that'll be a big improvement.
and
Yeah, we can sort that out later.
I don't know if we even put that in
Okay.
our code of ethics, whatever, that you worked on.
Yeah.
Bylaws.
but the bylaws, it's 2018.
We have some of that. We did put some, it is in our law,
Same
our
thing with
bylaws.
your information before the meeting, 20 days.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
It's
So
in the
we
land
have,
use ordinance.
and we have, that's it for that, right?
Well, what about on page, 7.2? The classification. So we didn't address this yet, right, 7.2?
So the change on this one, outside of what's captured here on that second paragraph, in accordance with section 6D1G.
Right.
Yep.
So we'd strike out that section for projects involving less than 2,500 square feet of gross non-residential floor area. So that would get crossed out since we're removing that bullet point there.
Okay.
Any language that we add into the previous section about the pre-application process, things like that, that might need to get put up here, I'll double check that specific language, but I think we might be okay with how we're classifying it here.
Okay.
And then the very last sentence within that, still that same section, right above administration, if an applicant is uncertain as to the classification of the project, they may request a determination by the town planner. We'd be removing that, since that's already covered by the paragraph right above.
All right, so we're just removing the reference to 2,500 square feet.
Yep.
And which reflects what we did earlier in the other section.
That's it. Okay, we got that?
Yep.
All right. And fire hydrants,
On 7.4,
7.4.
under profession, excuse me, under professional review.
Yep.
Okay, should that maybe, where it says the town planner may recommend that the planning board establish an escrow account, should that be shall?
I would think so.
yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Oh,
Shall recommend that the planning board establish an escrow account.
Well, shall means that they're gonna do it.
They're gonna do it.
I don't know that we have approval to change anything else.
right.
I think that might
That's
be a
what I'm afraid of,
housekeeping
too.
thing that we do the next go around.
Well, why don't we?
What do you mean, we don't?
We don't have select board approval to change things. You know what I mean?
How are they gonna know?
I don't know.
It's not like it's been recorded.
We're gonna have quite a
It's
bit.
not like we're being recorded.
We're not?
Okay, we're changing things, but you don't know it.
Well,
They didn't approve the escrow account?
No, they do, but I mean, these are like housekeeping things. We were pretty specific with what we wanted to do, or what we asked to do, right? And they gave approval for that. Do you think we need approval for housekeeping type things
I don't
like
think
that?
so.
No,
I don't think
I
so.
think
I
they'd
don't need it,
appreciate
not for just
if
minor,
we
minor
cleaned it
stuff. I
up.
would think that.
That's only a win-win thing in my
Yeah.
mind. Causes no more work. It just kind of helps define the job, actually.
I think we missed it, actually, before, yeah.
And then on 7.5,
Yeah.
under violations, a fine of, it should be, have the word "one" inserted, because you've had it inserted the other way. $100 up to, and it's written $2,500 with the amount in parentheses.
Oh, yeah.
To be construed.
Fine,
Yeah, it should be $100.
There should
oh,
be
100, yeah,
there should
of
be a
$100, yeah, got it, okay. Do you see it, Gary?
No, what page is that on?
This is on 7.5,
That's inner city slang when it's written.
under violations,
But the teacher in me finds these things.
the last sentence, actually, it's all one sentence anyway. But applying a fine of $100, it should say 100 ahead of, in parentheses, no, it doesn't, wait a minute. Fine of $100, the word one
Yeah.
is missing, it's got of $100.
Yeah.
Or you could say hundreds.
That's like $50.
That's like, how do you say $350? Most people say $350,
Yeah.
and that's not correct. Technically, it's $350.
Tina, you want something?
Do you know of any other little clerical errors in this section here that
I
stick
can't-
out?
Yeah, I don't know any off the top of my head, but I'm sure we have plenty of them.
Yeah, I know, but, okay.
You see all these stickers?
Let's cover the other,
Those are
Yeah,
those that
Let's
you-
go, guys. So fire hydrant.
I think we can present it to the board as
Yep.
dusted tonight. And the same with the nuisance.
The fire
fee.
hydrant one, I think that we discussed,
I can punch it manually, but we don't have that. Pretty much. So I have to like, about like, one of those down.
there was just that minor thing in the front there.
Yeah, that's what we were crossing out 800.
Yeah, crossing up to 800 and adding reasonable distance as determined by fire
Reasonable
chief
distance,
to be in line with what was
But these
on
big ones, I don't think that myself. It's
the other page.
it's kind of.
Is,
Anybody else catch anything else?
There were some questions about cistern and stuff, but nothing came out of that. So I think that's really,
right? So,
I think the
shall a bond be held by the town for 365 days? I think we decided that was fine as well. Oh, here's, on 1A, shall was crossed out, we put in may, but we decided that, I think they were in the side, but we discussed going back to shall. I think that's what I heard. Anybody get a note on that?
Well,
besides
May
me?
fits more with motion reviewing.
What number is it again?
1A, it's on page 2. Originally, we had shall crossed out with a may,
Oh,
and I think I heard a strong voice around shall. Just leave it at shall rather than may.
yeah. Should we say recommendations of the chief?
It gives him the right, it gives him the ability to sort of waive it, I would say. In other words, he can ask for what he wants.
Yep.
So, are we in agreement that, of the thought that one cistern for, you know, whether it's one house or 100 houses, that will give them the time that they need, correct?
That's what we heard, I think. Yep.
Chance of 20 houses going at once are probably gonna be one house at a time.
Yeah, no, I,
Huge forest fires.
fire you mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, at some point in time, you have to have insurance, I mean, you can't be covered for everything.
Well, that gives them the time to, like, when they had the big fire up on Anderson Road, way at the end, I mean, they were shuttling from Marathon. Once they set those trucks up to shuttle the water, it's fine, but it's that time
That
to
time
get,
frame, yeah.
to get the trucks in position to be shuttled. They had about 10 trucks, because they had trucks from all over. And they just started shuttling water and they were fine. I mean, they lost it anyway, but they sure did it, made a gallant effort and had the water there. So the system just gives them those few minutes to get the tankers lined up.
No, I
So,
agree.
I'm not arguing that,
I
yeah.
think they should have it.
Yeah.
I think like that
I know.
14th thing development, I think they should have two. Personally, my father was the fire chief. I was privy to